And a very pleasant good afternoon to everybody here, hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Hope you had a pleasant weekend. Get ready to get the week started off right. A very hot, humid day here in Baton Rouge, so a typical Baton Rouge day. How was your weekend? You had your camp.
It was fantastic. I didn't really know what to expect, Hanny, and we've been very fortunate, like I mentioned, to do it for 12 years, and we've had some big numbers. But this year, obviously, it looks a little different. We got very lucky that we have a lot of space. We had an indoor space, an outdoor space as well. We split it up into two groups. That way we didn't have too many campers in there at the same time. We had a little bit over 100 campers, so that was fantastic. And I do want to give a huge shout-out to Richard Dickson and Charles Scott, both former All-SEC Tigers that helped out. They were great. They were great with the kids, and that's a long day. You're there from 9 to 3:30. It was, like you mentioned, a little bit warm all over the state of Louisiana, so I appreciate those guys and all the high school coaches that showed up as well.
You can chat with us in the Bayou Ford Huddle. You can chat with us on our YouTube page. You get live streaming video, and you can chat with us in the chat feature there right next to it. Today would have been the opening of SEC Media Days had the world not gone sideways. But there is a meeting going on amongst all of the athletic directors right now in Birmingham. This is the only time in my career that I can remember a meeting being called of all of the athletic directors outside of the normal, which is the SEC meets twice a year, basically, to do business. They meet at their spring meetings in Destin, which is always in May, and the other time is at the SEC basketball tournament because everybody participates, the only other thing that everybody participates in. So for them to call a meeting of this nature, I mean, they do conference calls and things like that after 9/11, after, for hurricanes and things like that. But this is the only time I can remember they said, okay, everybody come in, we gotta talk about this. And of course, the stakes are enormous.
Yep.
I'd like to give you better news from around the country. There simply is none when it comes to college football. Today, the Patriot League joined the Ivy League in canceling all fall sports. They will move them to the spring. Important note on that is that the Naval Academy and Army are both exempt from this cancellation. So, except for them, at least for the time being, that on the heels of the National Junior College Association moved their spring fall sports to the spring, including football. The National Junior College Association has 54 football playing schools. This is separate from the California Junior College League, which is the California Community College League. They have 66 football programs, so 110 junior college football programs putting their seasons on the shelf. After we got off the air on Friday, the Pac-12 followed suit with the Big Ten, which is to go to conference-only games. And so now we have, instead of media days today, we have this meeting.
Okay, that's a lot of bad stuff.
Yeah.
We talked on Friday about pumping some sunshine into the show, so I'll try to do the best that I can. Okay, so the SEC AD meeting that Hanny talked about, this has been in place for at least 2 weeks, so that's important to know. It is not a reaction to what the Big Ten and the Pac-12 have done. Will that be discussed? Absolutely. But it was not a meeting just because of what they have done. This has been in place, like I mentioned, for about 15, 16 days. Now, it is important, though, because they have met on Zoom or whatever platform they use for a long time now, almost daily, when you talk to some of the ADs across the SEC. It's very important that they're all meeting in person. That's important. You could have, done anything that was minor on a Zoom meeting, okay? So they're meeting in Birmingham. We've said for a long time, end of July was going to be the date where a big decision was made. I don't think anything groundbreaking comes out of this meeting today, Hanny. I think this is the meeting before the big announcement, before the big meeting, before they say, here's what we're going to do, right? We're getting in the middle of July. We're going to meet in person. We're going to talk about all of the 23 options that Commissioner Sankey said that we have in place. That he said, look, we've got all these protocols depending on what happens. They'll discuss all of those. It might even last until tomorrow. They might reconvene back at the league headquarters in Birmingham. So this is the meeting before the decision. So A lot's going to be discussed. We'll know a lot more information. We already know the Big Ten, Pac-12 have made their choice. The ACC, the Big 12, and the SEC are sitting there, and they're trying to be in unison as much as they can. Look, SEC, ACC have 7 games between each other non-conference-wise. The SEC and the Big 12 have 3 games between each other. Maybe there's something they can do. I don't know that. It's all hypothetical right now, but maybe you could see them say, hey, we've already got 7 games in place. Hey, we've already got 3 games in place. Let's make something work. I don't know that, but that's something that's being floated out there. So, yes, doom and gloom, I understand that, but there's still some options that look good on the table.
So nothing's off the table, right?
I don't think so.
I think you're going in there with a completely blank canvas. So things that you would never consider in any normal year, anything close to a normal year, now at least has to be brought up in the discussion if you're going to get creative, if you want to try to make this work in any way. And Sports Illustrated did one of the more creative things that I've seen. And before you turn your nose up at it when you hear it, think about it this way. You're trying to save football season. And if you want football, it may come in a very different flavor than what you're used to. And what this proposal was some kind of sort of what you're talking about. It's a partnership between the SEC and the ACC. And for 1 year, basically throw the divisions out and throw your schedule out and divide the 2 leagues into one league with 2 divisions that had 28 schools and try to play full schedule that way. This would be, you would have the potential to play 13 games. You probably wouldn't play that many, but it would put LSU in a Western division that included Clemson, Florida State, and Louisville,
right,
and didn't include Alabama, Auburn, and Mississippi. Alabama and Auburn. Goofy as that sounds, okay, this one particular proposal has Pittsburgh in what would be the SEC, ACC West. I'm not championing this proposal or saying that this is the way they should go, or even that this is going to get more than anything other than a passing glance. But what I am telling you is I could see very easily a scenario that says between these 3 leagues or 2 leagues that you're talking about, that yes, we will keep a non-conference game, maybe even more than one. You know, there's a couple of schools, Georgia being one, that has 2 games against the ACC. Again, nothing is off the table. No bizarre scenario that you would, like I said, you would never consider this.
That you would only do on Xbox and PlayStation.
Yeah,
normally.
I mean,
it's actually on the table.
Right. To put Clemson and Florida State into a division with LSU and Texas A&M.
Exactly.
Now, it's a crazy idea any normal year.
Hanny, you wouldn't have to necessarily combine the conferences, right? We have challenges all the time, Big 12 SEC challenge, and
this is radical.
This is radical, right? And maybe that's something that you do. Like we mentioned, let's go through the list. You said some of them: Georgia, Virginia, Auburn, North Carolina, Mississippi State, NC State, Clemson, South Carolina, Louisville, Kentucky, UGA, Georgia Tech, and Florida State. The games that we always have, the 4 games there at the end of the year. So you have the 7 in place. You know, is it, hey, LSU, you get Virginia Tech? Ole Miss, you get Miami, because now Miami, as we know, they have a free game because Michigan State in the Big Ten they play.
Correct.
So there's games. Alabama now, they've got that free USC game. So there's spots in the schedule if you wanted to do that. Baylor, Ole Miss, LSU, Texas, and Tennessee, Oklahoma. That's Big 12 SEC games. And so it would take a lot of work. You're not getting a lot of sleep. You can maybe figure out a way that you combine all 3 conferences to come up with a schedule. Is it, close to maybe being a possibility? I don't know that. But when you have this many games in place, and those 3 Power 5 conferences did not immediately come out and say, we're doing this. Now, the ACC, like we talked about last week, they're trying to figure out Notre Dame, and they had just released an announcement about September the 1st being the first possible day when they have a game on September the 2nd. So maybe they didn't want to go back-to-back press releases. But these 3 conferences, I've got to imagine, have at least had some sort of conversations and dialogue about what they could do together.
You want to talk about sunshine pumping, okay? We could end up with the most attractive 11-game schedule you have seen since the 1980s, back when rental wins were just coming into vogue. LSU, very kind of famously in 1988, played Ohio State, Texas A&M, and Miami, all in the same year, which would get you fired as an athletic director. Now, if you
Yes.
but those were rental wins were just starting to come into vogue at that time. You might see the most attractive overall schedule since then, even if it is only 10 or 11 games. Now, that's the good news. The bad news is that again, increasingly, and this is my real issue. These 14 ADs can come up with any number of creative solutions today. They don't have to announce them, but they could come up with this is the number one thing that we want to do, which obviously would be to leave everything alone, which I don't think is even possible anymore. Number two, it would be to do this. Number three is this. Number four is this. But they don't have any real power. Not when it comes to overall the overall landscape of things. For instance, we were talking with Matt when we were changing shifts in here on Friday. He said, "Well,
don't tell people I talked to Moscona. Try to keep that under wraps."
Sorry, I outed you.
Okay, sorry.
And he said, when we start to hear from people that actually make the decisions, then I'll get worried, because at that point the ADs at Alabama and USC had said, "We're playing," and 3 hours later they weren't. They don't have any power. If state governors, university presidents, they can come up with, we can draw up potential schedules all day long, and so can these ADs. But the governor of Louisiana this weekend put together protocols in place for mask wearing, but also banning gatherings of more than 25 people.
Right.
Okay. Even with no fans in the stands, you can't have a football game with less than 200 people. Even with no fans in the stands. That was at the same press conference that the governor shut down the hospitality industry with absolutely no hope for any kind of economic relief either. Over a 1 hour press conference, did nothing but cost a lot of people jobs and offered them no hope for economic relief. But that's another story. That's my issue with, that's my concern, not my issue, is that these 14 ADs and the Southeastern Conference officials that are with them have great intentions. They have can I use a Les Miles word here? They have a great want. Okay, they have a great want.
Who are you talking to? Absolutely, you can use. I have a child named after Les.
They have a great want to get this done. It may not be their call. In fact, I think the likelihood is more that it won't be their call. The athletic directors I'm talking about. Right. But I applaud them for getting together and trying to come up with a better mousetrap for this.
And these governors,
get me to a yes.
In the leadership and trying to protect everyone in their states, they know that messing with college football is one of the right, wrong, or indifferent. They realize how that impacts their legacy.
It's a $4 billion industry.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not talking about just watching the games. I'm talking about the impact on all these economies across the SEC. And
that's the thing. I get a little irritated when people say, "Well, you can do without your football games for a fall." That's just a part of it. Yeah, it's not. It's just not the entertainment value. This is the fry cook at the restaurant that depends on the football game.
Yep.
This is the bartender, not bartenders anymore. The wait staff, the security guards, the people that maintain the facilities. These people that depend on football for their living, even though they're not.
In Tiger Stadium, how many people do you see in yellow jackets and yellow polos that are part of the game day staff?
Yeah, a lot.
Right? And they count on that money each and every year. There's different things that all of us do.
It affects everybody. You take the money out of the businesses that are not dependent on football, but greatly count on football to produce revenue, then they don't have that revenue to go and spend on other things, and thus is your economy. So we're not just trying to save entertainment value here. Right. We're trying to save an economic boost when we've already taken a lot of body blows on this thing. So that's where we are. If anything comes out of that meeting, if they finish that up before the end of the show, we'll certainly have that for you. There was good news over the weekend for LSU football and recruiting. We'll talk with Billy Embody about that. That's coming up in the next segment. Richard Dickson will be with us in hour number 2, his first appearance on the new show. He was at the camp with Jacob and company on over the weekend. And Cole Cubelic from the SEC Network will be with us in hour number 3. We're brought to you by Richard's Honda, home of the warm, fuzzy feeling. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny.
GMFS Mortgage, gmfsmortgage.com. Helping you out as we are here in phase 2. A refi right now might be just the ticket, and the rates have never been better. Not only the long-term benefits of a better rate, but the short-term benefits of maybe being able to skip a mortgage payment or 2. Or maybe that new home that you've been wanting is now in reach because of these lower rates. Start your journey at gmfsmortgage.com. You'll meet with a local counselor. They'll answer some questions. You can get all of the options that you have, and then you can start your journey. It has helped thousands upon thousands of people. When they talk about changing lives, they're talking about changing your budget in a positive manner. So do what I did. Do what thousands of others have done. And start your journey today at gmfsmortgage.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045espn.com.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens, if not thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Coming up on Tuesdays Off the Bench, Coach O stops by to update you on the status of SEC football as well as SEC Associate Commissioner Herb Vincent. Brand new OTB mailbag will answer all of life's most pressing questions. Off the Bench, 104.5 ESPN.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
Brought to you by Richard's Honda, home of the warm, fuzzy feeling. Remember, you can get us on Facebook Live and on our YouTube page, 104.5 ESPN. You can also chat with us using that feature, and we're on CST. Joining us now from Go247, Billy Embody, big get for LSU this weekend as they land linebacker Greg Penn from Maryland. Billy, good afternoon. How are you?
Doing well, guys. How are you?
Outstanding. Tell us about the recruitment and the commitment and what kind of player LSU is getting in Greg Penn III.
Greg Penn's coming from one of the best high school programs in the country in DeMatha. So starting there to go into a program like that and get him, and one that, you know, being so close to Maryland, a lot of people thought the Terrapins were probably going to win this battle. But LSU just really did a nice job recruiting him. And they had him on campus for a game. They kept chipping away. Bo Pelini came in and really prioritized him since arriving in Baton Rouge. And then kind of they played some connections. Greg Penn has a family member. His uncle is Corey Robinson, who's a defensive assistant with the Saints. So they have some family here, which kind of helped, I think, make him feel a little bit better about going so far from home. But overall, LSU is getting somebody that is one of the best linebackers in the country, probably ends up playing inside at the college level. He's 6'1", 225, so he's kind of built well to play in the middle of a defense. And specifically, Bo Pelini's 4'3", and that's kind of what they needed in this class more than anything, I think, is to address the linebacker position and specifically the inside linebacker position. After Jacob Phillips and Patrick Queen left, you've got Damone Clark coming back as well, and then some other guys that are just coming up in the linebacker room. But still, to go out, get Greg Penn from so far away and overcome a hometown school that held a lot of confidence that they were going to get him is a big recruiting win for Bo Pelini. And it shows, I think, just how good of a job he's doing since being hired as a new defensive coordinator. It was really a whole staff effort as well. A lot of the analysts and graduate assistants, Kelvin Shepard and Alec Osborne, Keith Sanchez, Donald D'Alessio, they all did a great job keeping on Greg Penn, and it paid off with a big recruiting win.
Billy, when you talk to everybody at 247 Sports, and I'm sure that y'all talk about, the schools that are getting recruits to commit right now, it's impressive to me that LSU's been able to do this from guys that really haven't even been to Louisiana. They haven't been to LSU. They haven't stepped foot really on campus. And even if they have, it was maybe quickly during a camp or something, but they continue to get guys to commit to just the program. Maybe not even, the buildings that we have and the stadium and all that. No, they're committing to the program right now. And not every school has been able to do that during this pandemic.
Yeah, you look at Greg Penn, he made it for a game, but really didn't get to come back and do a big, official visit or any of those things. But JoJo Earl, Keanu Coate, those are a couple of the guys that really stand out to me. Naquan Brown as well, that haven't visited LSU and still ended up trusting their gut and feeling like, you know what, that's the spot for me. I've got a great relationship with the staff. I've seen what I can, and not in person. Haven't been able to put my hands on Baton Rouge, but I've been on virtual visits. I've done this and that and meetings with the coaching staff, and you know what? That's paying off. And once these guys are able to take visits at some point in the future, and maybe that helps these commitments stick even more so than people might expect.
Billy Embody is our guest. Billy, I know that the star ratings are not everything, and we can always name, lower star guys that did better and higher star guys that didn't pan out. But I like to look at the average star ratings anyway. And to nobody's surprise, it's Ohio State, Clemson, LSU, Alabama, and Georgia. It's been that way for quite some time. But when I look at what LSU's already got committed and what's left on the board for them, and some very, very highly rated players out of Louisiana specifically, I don't know that they can get to Ohio State at number one because they've got 4 or 5 stars already committed. But it does look like number 2 is well within their reach with what they've got left on the board.
Yeah, I think so too. And a lot of people are expecting this to be a big class, and that'll help them in the overall points, like you kind of alluded to there. I mean, and with Mason Smith and Tristan Lay and Sage Ryan and Brian Thomas Jr., just to name a few that are still left on the board, that's going to help the average star ranking. That's going to help in a big way with all of those guys being top 100, and I believe probably like top 50 overall prospects. And you add, let's say, those 4 to the mix, and this class is on an elite level on its own, but they'll be right there to challenge for, I think number 2. And who knows, maybe Ohio State sees some attrition and falters off a little bit late. But yeah, they're going to be right up there near the top of the recruiting rankings without a doubt.
Billy, is there anybody out of state? Is there 3 or 4 guys maybe out of the state where you feel like LSU says, hey, we've got to make these guys an emphasis? Because we know, the top 3 in Louisiana, and they're being from Louisiana, LSU has to make sure they close those guys. But anybody out of state that they've had a relationship with over the last couple of seasons that they feel like they've got a really good end and potentially could get them to come to Louisiana?
Yeah, I think these are the 4 that I kind of circle, and maybe there's a couple more I could name, but I'll go with 5-star offensive tackle Tristan Lay. He's been to Baton Rouge, he's camped, he's seen it, so he's got LSU right near the top of his list. They're fighting for him. Prince Colley, who's somebody that I think, unless you've really been following closely, he's risen up the recruiting rankings. LSU offered in late May, and a lot of other national programs have offered just over the course of this pandemic and the recruiting shutdown. He's blown up. He's probably one of their biggest targets left on the board. He's a 4-star linebacker out of Tennessee, and he left off Vanderbilt and Tennessee from his top schools list. And a lot of people think LSU is moving into a pretty prime position to land him. Thomas Fedone, the 4-star tight end, the number 1 tight end of the country. LSU's battling Nebraska and Iowa and some of these other national powers to land him. Those guys are all elite. And then Nathaniel Wiggins, who actually just set his commitment date for later this summer. He's a top 100 overall prospect and one of the best corners in the country. And some people think LSU could very well go into the state of Georgia and land another California native. He goes to school in Westlake, just near the Atlanta area. But some people are starting to think maybe LSU is going to be able to beat out Oregon and USC and some of these other programs that have been recruiting him even when he was back on the West Coast.
Billy, wouldn't be a segment with you if we didn't talk about Musa Sesay, so I can change topics.
I wore my basketball shirt today.
You
Hanny.
did.
I wore
You
my
did.
basketball shirt.
So another week has gone by. There were some rumblings over the weekend in regard to him. Do you feel better, worse, or about the same as you did about Sesay than you did a week ago?
Yeah, I feel a little bit better, and that's twofold. One, a lot of people thought he was going to commit this next week and kind of make it, or this last week, and make his decision. And most people thought that would be Memphis if that happened, which I would agree with that. But like you said, another week passed and no decision, no signing, no enrolling anywhere for Musa Sesay, the 5-star center out of the Memphis area. And just talking to a couple people over the weekend, there's a little bit of positivity on LSU's side that maybe there's a change in the wind yet again for Musa Sesay. And so we're going to continue to monitor this one. It wasn't looking good going into last week, but again, as another week rolled by and talking with some people over the weekend, there's some positivity. So there's a shot, which is all I think you can ask for if you're LSU right now. And look, they've done a good job recruiting him. They really have. And so it's no surprise that there's a back and forth here between 2 of the best recruiters in the country, and Penny Hardaway and Will Wade.
Billy, is there any chance that he is putting off his decision as long as possible just to get enough information at whether there's definitely going to be a basketball season? I hate to go that far out, but I don't think any of us knows for sure how the fall semester is going to go in regards to the virus. So is there any chance that he's hanging out to say, listen, if they go ahead and they cancel a fall semester everywhere and basketball is not going to start, I'm just headed to the G League?
Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility, I think. And I don't blame him for doing that. I mean, now the thing is he could enroll somewhere. He can start getting into a weight program. And, LSU has guys on campus working out. Memphis has guys on campus working out and starting to get ready for their 2020 season if it does indeed happen. So I think he's probably looking at that and just doing his due diligence on that. But I don't think that's what the holdup is. I do think he's just a little torn.
When you talk about, Memphis and LSU having guys on campus working out, and we know everything got pushed back. Hanny and I talked about it last week. The NBA draft gets pushed back to October and the combine in August there. These coaches really have a challenge figuring out exactly who's going to be on their roster for some of these top-tier programs. LSU has multiple guys with their name in the draft. Now, Will Wade's got a pretty good idea of who's coming back, but you just never know. And then a guy like Musa Sesay, if you add him to your lineup, that's a gigantic add. But right now you're kind of playing the waiting game on a lot of these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's weird times. It really is. And like you said, though, I think Will Wade has a good idea of who's going to come back. I do think Trendon Watford's probably the most 50-50 coin toss of any of the guys. But for the most part, I think he knows what he's going to have coming back. And I don't think there's a lot of pressure on these guys to go ahead and pull their names out of the draft with all the uncertainty going on. And, kind of like Hanny alluded to with Musa Sesay, I mean, maybe they're all kind of watching as college basketball cancels their season. Maybe some of them will just keep their name in and say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and go pro.
Billy Embody, Go 247. Thanks a lot. We'll keep in touch. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one.
Remember, you can catch us on YouTube, live streaming, and on the app. We'll redirect you towards YouTube. Subscribe to the page 1045 ESPN. We've consolidated everything, so that's where all the video is headed, live video, and, of course, on CST and Facebook Live as well. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hanging with Hester and Hanny.
All right, it's a big week. Does anybody know what week it is? Paul? No? Paul? Yeah, okay. It's 51% off week at Hungry Howie's all week long. That's right. I told you about it last week. 51% off any pizza over at Hungry Howie's and free flavored crust. All you have to do is go to hungryhowies.com, use the promo code 510FF, and you will get 51% off your Hungry Howie's. That is a gigantic deal. By the way, boys, Ray is hooking us up tomorrow. I'm getting food in the studio. That's right, Hanny. We are getting food in the studio. Sorry, Cade. But when it's Hungry Howie's, you just allow it to happen. You can order always at hungryhowies.com. You can always call them at 761-HOWIE. Of course, that Nicholson location, 10 a.m. until 4 a.m. The Hungry Howie's app. So many different ways to get that Hungry Howie's to you. 51% off. I cannot say that enough off any pizza over at Hungry Howie's. 510FF is the promo code at hungryhowies.com.
Sports will be back.
But for now, we're all rooting for a different kind of hero.
Let's embody the best parts of sports.
Teamwork,
sacrifice,
resilience.
One goal, together.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers, offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. The SEC athletic directors are meeting in Birmingham. What comes to that meeting? We'll talk about it Monday at 3. Join us, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Do we see the confetti fall? Be ready for.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
Brought to you by Richard's Honda, home of the warm, fuzzy feeling. It's a warm, fuzzy feeling for JT Daniels. He got a waiver to play at Georgia immediately. You remember Daniels from his time out at USC. He was a starter as a true freshman, and then he was injured, replaced by Caden Slovis, and now he's decided to transfer to Georgia, and today he got his waiver. Here's the tweet. It says, "Thank you to the NCAA for granting me immediate eligibility and allowing me to play football this fall. I will not comment on the waiver or the transfer." Here's my issue with transfers and waivers. There's no transparency to this. Why did JT Daniels get why did he get a waiver?
That's been my question, Hanny, is, hey, you get one, you don't get one. There's no rhyme or reason, no uniformity. There's no, hey, here's why he got one, here's why he didn't. That's a big problem.
For instance, why did he get one and say Thaddeus Moss didn't?
Right.
Thaddeus Moss had to sit out a year. And there are countless other, some people get them, some people don't.
The offensive lineman who was transferring from Coastal Carolina to Virginia Tech to be a little bit closer to his sick mother did not get one.
Right. And that's a legitimate reason.
Yeah, and they're like, well, it's only 25 minutes closer. It's closer.
Yeah, I would at least like to hear the reasoning on why you are allowed, because there does need to be some type of precedent set. I would hope, but there hasn't been. It goes into a committee room somewhere, and they give you thumbs up or thumbs down, but they give you no reasoning for why you get that thumbs up or thumbs down. And I think anytime the NCAA is doing something and they're not telling us, just take our word for it. I don't want to take their word for it. I want to know why, and maybe there's a completely legitimate reason. I don't know what it is, but maybe there is. I'd like to know that. And he's not going to talk about it. And when he says, "I will not comment on the waiver or the transfer," then that leaves us up to our own devices to think, "Oh, what are you hiding?"
Right.
Because if you had transferred to be near a sick relative or to just be closer to home or whatever, let's call this what it is.
Right.
Because we think that JT Daniels transferred because he got beat out. That is the number one reason that players transfer. They got beat out. Now, maybe some of them get homesick, and maybe some of them have extenuating circumstances, but most of the time, these guys are leaving because they got beat out. So why does JT Daniels get a one-year waiver? Because he got beat out at Southern Cal.
Tate Martell.
Another one.
Got beat out.
Right.
I mean, you could point to 17 different cases where guys got beat out, they transfer, and they got waivers, right? The NCAA has no foundation right now. They rushed because they felt like they had to get something out there. They got pressured, whatever. Well, you've had time. They got rushed on three things. The new redshirt rule, which they put in place for the right reasons, right? 4 games, get you some experience in college football. The bylaws weren't good enough. People took advantage of it. De'Aaron King's now at Miami after he sat out last year at Houston. He was a dark horse Heisman candidate, and he sat out, took advantage of your redshirt rule. Now he's at Miami, right? That's one. The transfer portal, hot mess. Over 400 student athletes with no scholarships. You didn't do your due diligence in the transfer portal, right? And the thing that just makes me angry is the fact that you've got all these people that assume they can just go into the portal, they're going to get scholarships, and they don't do it. That's a problem. And the third part of it is obviously the waiver part, which we're talking about. No rhyme or reason to why some get it and some don't. That just, you can't have that. You've got to have a process. You've got to meet certain requirements. And if you don't meet those requirements and you want to have a hearing, that's fine. State your case. But you should say, here's what was stated in this case, and here's why we came to our decision. Because the last thing you want is like, man, the Blue Bloods sure do get those waivers processed pretty quickly, right?
They certainly do. And you get into a situation where you just believe that the system is not equitable. I don't have a problem with the transfer portal. I believe the player ought to have the right, if he wants to transfer,
I don't have
to
a
go.
problem with it, but it's got to have more substance to it. It's got to have more rules attached to it. It's got to have, hey, if you go into the portal, you have a certain amount of time you can be in there before you have to go back to your school, something, because it's actually hurting a lot of student athletes. Hanny, 247 does the best job out there as far as keeping up with who is in the portal. Go to the portal right now. You've got 3-star athletes that when they came out were 3-star guys with no place to go right now, and that's my biggest issue.
Well, that's on the kid. He ought to
He
have
needs some more help.
Well,
getting information.
I shouldn't even. I was going to say that they get advice from the current coaching staff, which I would imagine in most cases they want the kid to stay. But even that's not true, because sometimes coaches find out about it when the kid hits the transfer portal. He'll just go in, put his name in there without talking to a coach. We've heard those stories
we've
too.
Heard press conferences like, wait, what?
Yeah, right.
He's in the portal? News to me.
They have to do a better, but that's on the kid. If he puts himself in the transfer portal and there's nowhere for him to go, then that's on him.
But that's say you don't come from the best home situation, right? And say you don't have a pillar to lean on. Like, I was very fortunate. I had my mom, my dad, my father-in-law, all these people I could lean on who have been through some of these experiences, right? Not everybody has that. You're talking about a 19-year-old kid who's making a decision because the coach yelled at him or whatever. Is it their fault? Yes, but they don't necessarily maybe have a pillar to lean on. Hey, you got to go through this process. You've got to talk to this person before you can put your name in the portal. The fact that a head coach can find out in a press conference, that's an issue. And they don't have the best guidance sometimes. And so for me, make sure that, like, right now you've got Jaron Williams, who used to be the starting quarterback in Miami. Well, he's in the portal right now. He has no place to go. You've got Jack Allison, who's from West Virginia, 4-star prospect. He's got no place to go right now. And so just help them out. And again, you might be like, oh, you're babysitting these guys. Okay, sometimes guys need it.
No, I'm fine with that. I'm not going to give the coaches a complete pass on this either, because we do know that players get encouraged to leave. You know, there was a time 20 years ago, if you basically ran a kid off because he wasn't good enough, that was a stigma that was attached to your program and was really, really used against you in recruiting. Now it's just commonplace. We have natural attrition, probably, I don't know, 8 to 10 kids every year. And it's not that they're homesick or that, you know, they want to go closer to a certain coach or whatever. It's just, hey, you know what? I came to a Southeastern Conference school. Turns out my talent level is probably more suited to play at a Group of 5 school or an FCS school. That's, you know, that's in place for a reason. I get that. But when I hear JT Daniels say, I'm not going to comment on the waiver or the transfer, I'm just naturally skeptical that I'm being dealt with in a fair manner.
Yeah.
I don't believe that all of these are handled in the same way. And I got no problem with looking at every case individually, but tell me what you are looking for. That's all I'm saying.
Give me the requirements. Do they meet them? And if they don't, have a hearing. Tell us why, what was said in that hearing, or at least the reason in that hearing. And Hanny, we hadn't even got to the part of Jamie Newman, a grad transfer quarterback, is sitting there saying, wait a minute, hold on. Y'all told me I was the guy without having to even fight for the job. Now, I actually enjoy competition. I don't think you can come from somewhere and just be guaranteed a job, regardless of what we think. I mean, Joe Burrow had to work and get his job. Now, did he have a leg up on the competition when he transferred from Ohio State? Yeah, absolutely. But there was 3 other quarterbacks that he had to at least compete with. Now you're talking about JT Daniels coming in, who was one of the highest-rated high school quarterback recruits of all time. Jamie Newman coming over from Wake Forest. That's going to be a battle. JT Daniels didn't get that waiver just to sit on the bench and be a spectator this year.
He didn't, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if he were to get beat out that he would transfer again. He's got 4 games to play with here. If things go sideways and Slovis wins the job, He's only got 1 year. Newman's only got 1 year left. I would imagine that he would transfer out and go find somewhere different to play next year. Now, if he wins a job, then, Slovis has got 3 to play 3. Newman's in a different position. He's got to play this year, provided we play this year. Always got to throw that in at the end. I hate that. I hate that I do. Anyway, JT Daniels gets his waiver. We'll take a break here on Hanging with Hester and Hanny. Richard Dickson with us in hour number 2. Cole Cubelic with us in hour number 3. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hanging with Hester and Hanny.
Gotros Outdoor Power. All of your property maintenance needs this summer. The Skag Zero Turns, the best mower on the market right now, the Skag Liberties, all with great financing options right now, free delivery, and a 5-year warranty for 5 years of worry-free mowing. But it's not just mowers at Gotros Outdoor Power. For all of your pole saws, your chainsaws, your generators as we get deeper into hurricane season, your edgers, your trimmers, your blowers, all of these items with a service department that is second to none with the largest parts inventory anywhere. Long time, Gotros has served the Gonzales area. Airline at 74 in Baton Rouge as well. Airline at Industrialplex across from Brian Harris BMW. So, again, for all your property maintenance needs this summer, stop by either locations of Gotros Outdoor Power. At Gotros, we make it easy.
We opened up the playbook and expanded our coverage. Listen daily in high definition on 98.1 HD2. We are 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the
Coming up on Tuesdays Off the Bench, Coach O stops by to update you on the status of SEC football as well as SEC Associate Commissioner Herb Vincent. Brand new OTB mailbag will answer all of life's most pressing questions. Off the Bench, 104.5 ESPN.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
Brought to you by Richard's Honda, home of the warm, fuzzy feeling. A little golf over the weekend with an LSU flavor. We'll start with the Workday Charity Open. Sam Burns got himself into position to make a run at this thing. He was 5 strokes back going into Sunday. He had risen as high as number 2 at one point on Friday afternoon. But a final round 74 brought him back to a tie for 17th. Picked up a tidy $88,000. It was one hole that really completely did him in for a chance to maybe compete in this thing, and that was number 1 on Sunday. He triple bogeyed number 1, and that was pretty much it for his chances to win the tournament. He shot 2 under besides that, but that opening hole did him in. Oh, excuse me, 1 under for the rest of the day. But that one hole did him in. Colin Morikawa, who has now won 2 tournaments and only missed 1 cut in his career. That's an interesting little stat. You know who's the last guy to win more than 1 tournament and miss less than 1 cut? Tiger Woods.
Okay, he's pretty good.
Yeah,
not bad.
He won. That's really of all the stats on Tiger Woods, probably one of the most remarkable ones is he won 43 tournaments before he missed his 2nd cut. I mean, if you were just rolling out on Tiger Woods, superlatives, that one's got to be that when he won the U.S. Open by 15 strokes, when he was 12 under and nobody else broke par. That's good, but won 43 times. Anyway, Morikawa, who was all over the place yesterday, started out 3 strokes off the lead, and
it looked like he was really going to fall off the pack after the 3rd round. Justin Thomas had a 3-stroke lead
hell of a third round, at 15, and just it came back to him, and Morikawa won it in the playoff.
You know what I realized over the weekend? I need to listen to Jimmy Ott from 6 to 8 because I picked Cameron Champ to win this tournament. Yeah. Now, he made the cut, but he finished dead last of the players who made the cut at +7.
Do you get something for that?
7 over.
Okay.
Yeah. Do I get a prize? Do I get like a hat or anything for that?
You came closer on your other bet, though.
I did. I had my guy Kyle Williams.
So this is the celebrity championship, the American Century Championship at Lake Tahoe, and Kyle Williams finished 2nd to professional tennis player Marty Fish. John Smoltz finished 3rd, and there's lots of names that you would know that participated.
Tony Romo,
in this thing.
Mark Mulder.
Tony Romo had to pull out because
he had a wrist.
Yeah, he had an injury.
He
but
wasn't playing that well before he pulled out. Not to his standards. But by the way, Kyle Williams, who lives on a golf course, so he's a man that likes to go out there and play some golf. When he hits a golf ball, it sounds like a shotgun is going off. It is extremely impressive. He was actually leading for most of the 2nd round. Down the stretch, Marty Fish, former pro tennis player, took off and took the lead, but Kyle pulled away from everybody else as well. So it was really those 2 guys at the top. Kyle was right there, had a chance to win it going into the 3rd round.
Yeah, they use that other scoring system there. I think it's a Stableford scoring system.
Which I had my fingers out trying to count on Saturday, trying to figure out how the heck to score this deal.
Marty Fish had 76 points. Kyle Williams had 67 points. John Smoltz, who finished 3rd, had 58 points. So there's a gap there. How do you're a defensive lineman, and your body just gets beat up as much as defensive line get. How do you manage to hone a golf game that's that good?
He's always been really, really good at golf. He's always good at everything. Kyle Williams is so much more athletic than people give him credit for. We used to play intramural softball. We had a football team, and we're so creative. Our team name was FB.
Okay.
For football.
Right.
Real creative.
I spent a lot of time on that, right?
Right. And Kyle Williams he was a part of it, and he would just hit massive bombs. It was a lot of fun. Joe Lawrence, who played in the big leagues, was our shortstop. So we used to actually, do pretty well in the old intramural softball. But Kyle, you could tell every sport he played, he was the man. The only person I saw strike out that year, I'm going to throw him under the bus, Justin Vincent. Struck out in slow pitch softball.
Come on, man.
That's right, JV.
Rest of the top 10, Steph Curry, Case Keenum, Mark Mulder, former A's pitcher, Del Curry, Derek Lowe, Vinny Del Negro, and the actor Jack Wagner. That rounds out your top 10. How's your golf game?
It's not great. It used to be respectable, and then with each child, it went down, down,
The
down.
less
And
you
not
play.
like down like in the good, like lower scores for golf.
Right.
Yeah.
Worse.
Yeah.
Can't be any worse than mine.
I've never seen you play. My claim to fame is I did shoot in the mid-'90s at Torrey Pines a couple of weeks after the U.S. Open. That's when I was really, really playing all the time. I was out in San Diego.
Could you play during the season or just in the off
You
season?
could go to the driving range. We had a driving range that was right next to our facility. So if we had an hour and a half for lunch or whatever it might have been, a couple of us would sneak over there and hit some balls. Charlie Joyner, Pro Football Hall of Fame, Grambling legend, receivers coach, he'd go over there with us.
Let me guess, he was good.
Oh gosh, yeah. Scratch golf.
Not surprising at all. Richard Dickson with us in hour number 2. Cole Cubelic with us in hour number 3. Brought to you by Richard Honda, home of the warm fuzzy feeling. Hangin with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny.
For 3 generations, Lewis Mechanical has been serving the plumbing needs of the Baton Rouge area, specializing in residential and commercial plumbing repairs, and at your service with full-time.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers, offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens. Make that thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger.
If I build a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Hand Injury Lawyers. Now, Hangin with Hester and Hanny with Jacob Hester and Charles Hanagriff. Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger. Alongside Jacob Hester, here's Charles Hanagriff.
Good afternoon. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, brought to you by Richard's Honda, home of the warm, fuzzy feeling. Remember, we're on CST, Facebook Live, and sign up for our YouTube page. Subscribe, 104.5 ESPN. All the shows will be on that platform. That you can check that out. We had a question out of the huddle, that the Bayou Ford huddle, about that celebrity golf tournament that Kyle Williams finished second in. Said, did Charles Barkley finish last? Charles Barkley did not finish last.
Hey.
Charles Barkley finished second to last,
but not last.
So who finished behind him?
Is it an actor, an athlete?
It is a former athlete, former NFL player.
Oh,
no, this is not counting Tony Romo, who had to withdraw with that wrist injury. I have no idea what these guys' golf games are, but Eddie George finished
Eddie,
behind him.
Can I tell a good Eddie George story?
Go
Real
right
quick.
ahead.
Okay,
Go right
I know
ahead.
it's not what we had planned for this segment.
I just was throwing that in, but go ahead.
So I was actually at the Manning Passing Academy. I was working it. I was part of the staff the year that the all season that I was with Denver. So going into the 2013 season, and had a lot of fun. Peyton, Eli, and myself were working out in Nichols' facility, right? And we come out and we go from working out to throwing routes. And I was in the line, a couple other guys that were in the NFL that were helping out. We were in the receiver line, just running routes, trying to stay sharp. Obviously, I believe Jacob Tammy was there. He was with us in the Broncos. But after we get through running routes, and I was out there at receiver or whatever, and they send me to the running backs. Well, I go down to the running back group. Eddie George is the running back coach, and I'm helping him out, right? And we're sitting there, we're having a great conversation. All of a sudden, he's like, all right, what's the plan for you this year? I was like, oh, probably play fullback if we have any fullback. We probably don't, but more of a third down back. That's what I played last year with Denver or whatever. And he's looking at me like, fullback? Like, what are you talking about? And I was like, that's what I've played, my pro career, Eddie. Like, at LSU, I played running back. He looks at me, and I could tell he's puzzled. He said, wait, I thought you were Wes Welker this whole time. I said, Eddie, no. Jacob Hester. He goes, I should have remembered that. I saw what you did to my Buckeyes.
Right,
He said this whole time. And he tried to cover it up, Hanny.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I saw you out there in the slot running routes. I thought, hey, that's Welker. It's got because Wes had signed with us that all season.
Yeah.
And he's like, I thought you were Welker because I was like, sure. That's it. It's
at
just
least he owned it.
You saw a short, bearded white guy, and you thought I was Wes Welker. Hey, I appreciate it. Sure.
The guy was a good player.
So he's like, what is Wes Welker doing down here? Fullback, Wes Welker. What's going on here?
Worst thing you can do if somebody comes up to you and you don't know who they are is to try to fake it, because you will embarrass yourself.
Yes.
You try. Oh yeah, I remember you. And all they got to do is say, "What's my name?" And then you're stuck. You got nowhere to go.
You're exactly
It's
right.
better just to own it from jump.
And it's funny. He owns it. We actually we did some radio together on Sirius XM not that long ago, and he actually brought the story up because I wasn't going to bring it up. So it's a good game.
It's a Seinfeld episode, right?
Exactly
It's Dolores.
what
Okay, I got it. The Washington Redskins have retired their nickname officially today. The Redskins will make the announcement at some point later this week about what the name will be changed to. The process for this is a little bit more complicated than just, hey, our name is this, and that's kind of the interesting part of the story here is that getting everything, all of the trademarks cleared. This is usually something that takes, well, the fastest one for a team that has changed their nickname in the last probably 3 decades was when Tampa Bay dropped the Devil from the Devil Rays.
Right.
They did it in about 8 months because you have to. You think about all the things that have your logo on it, have your imaging on it.
Right.
So they got to change all of that, and they're going to do that in a big hurry. But all of the potential names that they've come up with, and they had a poll, have been trademarked by somebody else. This is basically a squatters' rights story. You can go and apply for a trademark for $275, and apparently this guy went and bought them all up. Is that
he bought almost every single one of them up? I mean, so when you're talking about Red Tails and you're talking about Senators and you're talking about all the names that the Redskins have thrown out there, this one human being was above everybody. Red Wolves, which a lot of Indian teams in college football have actually changed. I think there's been 2 that have changed their name to Red Wolves from the Indians. He did that as well. So all the names that you think of, like, oh, what about this one? Well, he's actually taking control of those, and he has the trademark. And so I don't know how much money he's asking for. Here's a list of everything that he secured, and his name is Martin McCauley. Americans, Bravehearts, Federals, Forces, Founders, Gladiators, Monuments, Natives, Pandas, Pigskins, Red-tailed Hawks, Renegades, Sharks, Veterans, Red Tails, like we mentioned, Monument Veterans, Renegades, Red-tailed Hawks, Americans, and Red Wolves.
So he's got about $5,000 in this.
Yes.
At 275, I lost count, like 18.
Oh, he said as of 2015, he has spent $20,000 on the effort to secure trademark rights to the alternative names.
Okay,
so I guess there was probably more.
Yeah, well, maybe it's the trademark is 275. We saw a lot of this when the internet was coming into being in the 90s. You had a lot of what you would call squatters that went and bought up, and you could do it really cheaply, names of big corporation, names of school. In fact, don't hold me to this, but LSU Sports is LSUsports.net because somebody went and bought up LSUsports.com or something along those lines. So this is similar to doing that. Red Tails is got has won most of the polls that they've done, and this is a nod to the Tuskegee Airmen from World War II, and it has picked up a lot of momentum as what could end up being the new name. But they're going to do this in a hurry. You remember when the Oilers moved from Houston to Tennessee? That was a 2-year process to change it over, and most of the time, all of the things that you have to do. So they're doing this in a
speaking of Eddie George,
in a big hurry,
playing for the Tennessee Oilers at Vanderbilt Stadium.
The Tennessee, that's right, because the first year they played. Well, the first year they played Memphis, right? They played 1 year in Memphis
for a little bit.
Yeah, they played 1 year in Memphis, and they played 1 year at Vandy before their stadium was ready.
Yeah.
So they were able to move cities before they actually got the
any
logo
name
change.
for the Redskins that you feel like stands out. I mean, I know their offensive line was called the Hogs for a long time. I've seen that trademarked. That was part of I think this package here. Red Tails has gotten the most steam. We've seen uniform concepts already. We've seen the Generals, of course. That's the basketball team that the Harlem Globetrotters.
I don't want to be the Washington Generals.
No, they lose
the
every
Washington
game.
Generals lost to the Globetrotters for 20 years. They never. I think they won 1 game.
Senators has gotten some steam.
Senators has been used.
Yeah.
That's my only deal with that. I thought that when the baseball team came back there, when they moved from Montreal, that they might be an ode to the old Washington Senators. But no.
Monuments do anything for you?
No. The Fighting Monuments.
No, it doesn't.
No. Red Tails works for me because they're going to keep the color scheme. And they're going to keep the burgundy and gold.
Right.
So
I'm good with Red Tails.
Red Tails would work, and that seems to be the one that has gotten the most the most steam behind this. So
it's I don't know how much money. Apparently, the guy who owns all these was on Twitter and said, I reached out to the organization last week and I told them I'd give them whichever name for free, but they haven't reached out to me, haven't returned my call. I don't know if they want me to pay for the name for them. I was like,
why don't I believe
in the
him?
World? Yeah, would you not? Heck, if you have the website name, you would want to get compensated for it. If you have a Twitter handle, which we were talking about before the show, people get compensated for Twitter handles. It's just like the old jersey number in the pros. Hey, you've got number 13. I want number 13. I'll give you $15,000. I'll give you 20, whatever that number might be. I was also telling you, when I was in high school at Evangel, there was someone actually became a family friend who bought JacobHester.com and JohnDavidBooty.com. And I secured that name after a while, but there's people out there that they do that. They get these website names sometimes so you can have them, sometimes for profit, but I can't imagine someone has these trademarks for an NFL franchise and doesn't want to be compensated for it.
He sunk 20 grand into this thing. He did it for a reason. And if you're a billionaire like Dan Snyder and you want the trademark, isn't it easier just to pay the guy off? I mean, what's $100 grand to Dan? I don't know what he said. What's 50 grand? What's 100 grand? What's 250 grand? It's a rounding error.
Really not a number,
for him. So you pick that up and you go from there. Anyway, we'll find out what Washington is going to go with a little bit later on in the week. Richard Dickson, who was a part of your camp this weekend, will join us when we come back here. Remember, you can subscribe to our YouTube page. All the video going there, streaming now, 104.5 ESPN. You can get us on Facebook Live and, of course, CST. 11:30 to Tiger up in Shreveport, and here in Baton Rouge, 104.5 ESPN.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny.
All right, as you know, we're brought to you every single day, like Hanny said, by Richard Tonda. You can find them online at richardtonda.com, where you can do it all. You can check for those specials I always tell you about. Right there in the bottom left corner of the website gives you exactly how much time you have left to save as well. Of course, you can schedule that service, so when you pull up to the service center, they're waiting on you. You can order parts and accessories. You can check out some of the deals they have right there at the top right of the website as well. You can always have that conversation with sales. Bottom right corner of the website is going to pull up that chat, but I would encourage every single one of you, go check them out at 13413 Millerville Greens Boulevard in Baton Rouge. With the lot that they have something for everybody. No matter what you're looking for, they've got you covered. If you're looking for a car, they've got the Accord, the Civic, and the Fit. Multiple hybrids with the Accord hybrid, the Clarity plug-in hybrid, the Insight, the CRV hybrid, which they just put in their hybrid fleet. They've got midsize SUVs covered with the CRV, HRV, and the Passport, the Pilot with seats 8, the Odyssey van, the Ridgeline truck. Something for everybody over at Richard Tonda, home of the warm and fuzzy feeling.
Dear Sports is our love letter to sports. Share your Dear Sports letter with us. Call 860-506-6161 and read it to us. Or share a video or text using the hashtag Dear Sports on Twitter or Instagram.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens, if not thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. The SEC athletic directors are meeting in Birmingham. What comes to that meeting? We'll talk about it Monday at 3. Join us, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
We're brought to you by Richard Honda, home of the warm, fuzzy feeling. Richard Dickson was part of the camp up in Shreveport this weekend with Jacob, and he joins us right now. Richard, welcome into the show, the first of what we hope is many guest appearances here on the new Hangin' with Hester and Hanny show.
I love it, man. What's going on, guys?
Well, you tell me. Give us a report on the camp, man. How it went, and some of the guys that you were able to work with this week. Maybe it might have caught your eye.
You know, it was the cleanest football camp I've ever worked at. I'm not talking about just there was no mistakes. I mean, we sprayed down everything. Talking about every barbell. I mean, Jake was sitting there. We're doing the bench test on these guys, and he had his big spray bottle, his rag, and every time a guy stood up, wiped the bench down, the bar down. It went pretty smooth. You know, when we were first talking about doing this camp, I was like, man, it's going to be a lot of work. But our wives pitched in. Everybody was in there cleaning up after the guys.
All right, Dick Dickson. We actually had a couple of high school guys, by the way. One from the state of Arkansas that was highly impressive. It actually might have been Hanny, our fastest 40 that we've ever had. He ran a 4.74, legit 4.74 as a sophomore in high school. So I was actually impressed with that.
No, he was that was definitely the most impressive guy. The guy, I think was it. I don't know if it was Conway, Arkansas.
It was right outside of Conway. Yeah, we gotta make sure we follow him, guys. We gotta make sure we follow him. We can't allow him to be going north or anywhere.
No, he's about a 5'11", 6-foot guy. You know, he was I think in 9th grade ran a 4.75. He also hit the bench at 135. I want to say 14, 15 times. I mean, he was a strong young kid. Definitely the most impressive. And, you know, he was one of the guys that actually showed up late and had to hop in. So I'm glad he made it there because he was definitely fun to watch.
All right, we appreciate Dick Dickson and Charles Scott again for helping out this weekend. Hey, let's talk a little football. As we know, the SEC right now in Birmingham, all the athletic directors are meeting today. And we've already heard Big Ten, Pac-12, conference-only schedules. Gut feeling, Richard, because we talked about it over the weekend, gut feeling what ends up happening in the Southeastern Conference as far as football schedule.
I think that they're going to follow lead and end up doing a conference only. I'm okay with that, honestly. You know, if you tell me I'm going to have a football season and LSU's going to play an SEC opponent in every single game, definitely going to be a season that, you know, there's not a game where I'm going to go ahead and skip out on and not be too interested in. I'm going to be watching every one of those games. I hope that they work something out with, I think, the Big 12 and ACC, so you keep some of those games. It makes sense when you're talking about a Georgia Tech. How could they not play, being that they're about an hour and a half away from each other? And, of course, you know, I'm with you. I want to see all the pettiness that we're not going to – I don't know. Maybe save the Texas game for next year so you can really go full in on all the pettiness you can do with the fans and the band.
We're looking now at some of these numbers. Ross Dellinger, who you know has been in this market, but is working covering college football for Sports Illustrated, was reporting Iowa State stands to lose $40 million with no fall sports. We've seen the number at $4 billion for the industry as a whole. Richard, I don't know what the exact number would be for LSU. My guess is, just off the top of my head, somewhere between 60 and 70 million. I think 65 million was a number that I'd seen kicked around. Just depends on how you do the accounting. But have you thought about what a fall might be like? You guys, all of us, football is what we do in the fall, man. Have you thought about the idea that, you know, hey, what if there isn't one?
Man, I'm trying to keep that thought out of my head because I think I would go absolutely crazy. Especially, you know, with the previous 4 or 5 months we've been through, guys. I mean, we had sports canceled. We had LSU baseball canceled. You know, the only light at the end of the tunnel that we've been thinking about the whole time was college football, and now we're getting there, and you know that light's getting dim. I can't imagine it. You know, and I feel bad for all these business owners, these restaurants and bars around town that they've had a tough March, April, May. Looks like it's getting a little bit tougher now with what the governor did. I know that some of the bars around campus, that the only way they're able to stay open is the 7 or 8 home games you have a year. So you're talking about taking that away. It's going to impact a lot of people.
Richard, give me your thoughts on a spring football season. If
No.
collegiate, I couldn't even get the question out. Okay, let's
No.
roll. Give us your thoughts.
You can't do that to a football player. I mean, it is physically impossible. And not to mention, if a kid gets hurt in the spring, talking about a junior, he goes out there and gets hurt in the spring, he's not only going to miss his junior season, he's going to miss his senior season. You can't come back and play in the fall with an ACL injury. I think you're going to lose a lot of stars. Jamar Chase would not play in the spring football season, being that he'd be eligible and to go in the draft the next year. To me, it's just, if you're going to do it, you might as well just have an extended spring and scrimmage, because you're going to have a lot of big-time players that are not going to participate, and you're going to have guys that, football is a game of injuries, and it's who can stay the healthiest the longest. And if you talk about playing a spring, you're really ruining the next year too. I just don't see how you can do it. I heard the Ivy League talk about it. Yeah, well, they're not that worried about winning or losing football games anyway. And if you play a spring season, what it does is impact the next season. I don't know how you play catch up.
Richard, though, wouldn't it be, and I agree, it would be very difficult to do, but in the case of injuries, wouldn't that be an easy enough fix, that if you were to get hurt in the spring season, an injury that caused you to miss also the fall season, that the NCAA could grant you we'll use a dirty word, a waiver, and restore that year of eligibility? I mean, they did react properly in the spring when all of the spring sports lost a year. They gave them all that year back. Wouldn't that be an easy enough fix, at least for that part of the problem?
I think it's going to diminish the product. I mean, for your guys who college football as far as they're going to get in their life, and that's all that they're hoped for, they're going to do it because they know there's not another season to be played in the NFL. Your superstar guys, your guys who are talking about first, second, third round draft picks, there's no way that they would, especially coming up on an eligible year, there's no way that they would play in the spring.
I'm also curious when you start talking about, eligibility as far as if a guy did get hurt in that spring season, like what would the NCAA do? Would they give someone an extra year if they tear their ACL if you have a spring football season? Because you and I talked about it, Richard, over the weekend. I mean, you tore your ACL, and even though that injury you can get back in 8 months opposed to the 12 months that it used to be, you're talking about potentially missing 2 seasons, and the NCAA, I feel like, would have to step in and give you something, give you some relief for that one injury.
Well, they're going to have to give you 2 seasons. Not only are you going to have to get a medical year, you're also going to have to get another year of eligibility. Because all things are normal, you get hurt in the fall in the first 6 games, or you've only played in 2 of the 6, whatever the rules are, I forget, and you get a medical, they give you a credit for that season. Well, now if you get hurt in a spring season, you're going to miss that season and the following season. Not only are you going to have to get a medical, you're also going to have to get an extended season to go on the back end. And like I said, that's okay for your guys who are just true college football players. That's all they're ever going to play. But guys who are trying to get to the NFL, the time clock, the age, you want to get into the NFL as young as possible. And now if you're talking about extending an extra 2 years to your college career, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Something that also broke over the weekend, junior college is moving their football season to the spring, Richard. And we've got a question inside the Bayou Ford Huddle from Steven. Wants to know how that would affect giving scholarships to junior college players if they don't play until the spring. And the junior college ranks very well, being from the state of Mississippi.
Yeah, I think it's tougher because most of your prospects in the junior college ranks, they're set to graduate in December, their second year in junior college, so they can get to spring. I think it would just turn them similar to a high school player. You're going to have a guy that's going to play in the spring, and then you're going to recruit them off that. You lose the opportunity to get them in early and get them accustomed to what you're doing. But also, I mean, you're talking about a guy that's 20 years old, 19 years old. He plays a full spring season. I just don't know how, he's going to be healthy enough. You can't depend on him to go turn around in 3 months or 2 months, whatever it is, and play a full, 12, 13 games. Football is a tough game. You need the off season. I had a surgery after every football season. I had my shoulders cleaned up, my knees cleaned up, my hands cleaned up. I mean, I had to have those 2 to 3 months just to get back, and then we started working out. You know as well as everybody, there's a bunch of surgeries that a bunch of injuries you play through the season, but you have to get fixed in the off season, and it takes time.
I'm wondering about the long-term permanent ramifications of a lot of things these days, Richard, but one of the things that I'm curious about is the future of spring football. We've largely seen that most of the teams that we're talking about did not get to go through a full spring, and in some cases, no spring at all. But they went through non-padded practices and things like that. If this works, if they do have a season and they go through it, any chance that you could see them come back and say, you know what, we really don't need padded practices in the spring, or we really don't want padded practices in the spring. We'll go without pads, but do you think that's a possibility? Because the spring football has been debated for a long time.
I don't think it's a possibility, because what you see right now is most of your starters, your top 15 players, they're not playing much in spring anyway. Spring is for your young guys who haven't started before, guys, a new quarterback like Miles Brennan missing a spring is not the best thing for them. They want those young guys to get in there and start competing and see what they got. It's a time where a lot of you young guys don't get a lot of physicality in the fall. They're not playing. They sit on the bench and they watch, so their bodies are ready to go in the spring. Spring is about developing young players, developing chemistry and guys in new positions. I don't see a world where a football coach, as much as they love football and love to hit, would take that away.
Real quick, before we let you go, Richard Dickson is our guest here on Hanging with Hester and Hanny. Move real quick to the NFL. It does seem like the NFL, Richard, has not really altered their schedule, especially when you start looking at some of the other sports leagues. The only thing they've really done is taken away the preseason games. They kept the draft where it was. Guys will start reporting to their training camps kind of around the same time they normally would, right? And so it does feel like, to me, if we have anything in the fall, it will be the NFL, as they have not really altered anything. And I'm talking about on the field. We know Baltimore and Jacksonville have come out with numbers in the stadium, but it seems like as far as on the field, it looks like as close to we're going to get as a for sure coming up this fall.
I think the NFL happens, and because it's a professional sport. You're going to tell me that the NBA can play in July. Major League Baseball's getting in there and figuring out the way that they can continue to play their games. And football's has a later start date than either one of those sports. I do see NFL happening. It's going to be a little bit different without fans in the stands. I hope they don't pipe in crowd noise to the TV like they're doing in your Premier League soccer right now.
Hey, don't take a shot at my Premier League soccer, by the way. I felt that.
But hey, I actually watched Premier League while you were sleeping yesterday morning at your parents' house, so
there you go.
I tried to get into it. But yeah, NFL is going to happen, and that's the only hope I have right now, because college football looks like it's getting a little bit further and further away.
Let me ask both of you guys this: if you guys were still in the league, how would you feel about going to camp right now, given everything that's going on? Richard, you first.
I would. In my position as a young player and where I was, I'd be unsure, because you want to play as much football and have as much time. The OTAs really helped me. The June camp really helped me. So it'd be something that you'd have to know in your mind that you did everything possible to stay in shape and do as much football activity to get yourself ready to go in August.
Yeah, I know for me, I would be there. If I had teammates and they were there, I'm not going to not be there. As a team captain on the team, I felt like it was my responsibility to be at the facility if there was anybody in that building, because I know number 17 would be in that building. And so I'd obviously you'd have the conversations with the staff and everybody to make sure that all the protocols are in place. But there's no chance, just for me, this is personally my opinion, that any of my teammates would be there and I would not be there. If there was one in there, there'd be two, because I would be the second one in there. So everybody's a little bit different. I understand that. But in my case, my scenario, if one's there, I'm there.
Richard, we appreciate it, man. We'll be catching up with you real soon.
No problem, guys. Talk to y'all later.
We're brought to you by Richard's Honda, home of the warm, fuzzy feeling. And remember, you can get streaming video for us on YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube page, 104.5 ESPN, all the live video there. Also catch us on CST and Facebook Live, 11:30, The Tiger in Shreveport. And here in Baton Rouge, Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN.
Hanging with Hester and Hanny. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers, offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as a bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens. Make that thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Divorce is hard. Divorce is messy. Divorce is exhausting. The law offices of O.C. Brown walked me through my divorce and helped me find the right solution for me, my kids, my finances, and my property.
Call the law offices of O.C. Brown, your law firm for a lifetime.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Our big New Year sale is going on now at Corval Toyota in Opelousas, and you can get $23.50 off MSRP on a 20 RAV4 XLE or lease a 20 RAV4 LE for $269 a month. Come on down to Happy Town. That's Corval Toyota in Opelousas, Happy Town, USA.
Coming up on Tuesdays Off the Bench, Coach O stops by to update you on the status of SEC football, as well as SEC Associate Commissioner Herb Vincent. Brand new OTB mailbag will answer all of life's most pressing questions. Off the Bench, 104.5 ESPN.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
And brought to you by Richard's Honda, home of the warm, fuzzy feeling. This isn't exactly sports related, but it does give us another indication in an NFL market and a couple of big college markets. Los Angeles and San Diego schools are going online only in the fall. Now this is high school and elementary school. You lived you lived in San Diego for what, 5 years?
Yep.
And so, big move.
Yeah.
Big move. We're just again we're watching some of this stuff, going, okay, what else happens here, and just I'd love to be able to tell you something different. Just none of it is going in the right direction.
Yeah, I wonder how that's going to play out. I can't speak for Los Angeles there, but being in San Diego and San Diego County, for a very long time, I know that almost everybody that I knew, both the parents had jobs, and a lot of them had military jobs where it's very difficult, right, to take time off and do some different things as far as teaching your children. So I'm very curious how that works out, because when you have both parents that are gone and working full time to be able to afford to live in San Diego, who's going to watch these, elementary and middle school and high school age children, and who's going to be helping them with their work? And so that's a big hurdle to clear, and that's big news in San Diego. Los Angeles, I'm not as surprised, but San Diego, and knowing that town, I'm very surprised by that.
A couple other, this is a question I got off of Twitter. It said, hadn't heard you guys talk about what would happen if there's not a football season. What happens with all the corporate sponsors and the contracts and things like that? And, it's just another layer of what, if you're paying for a corporate sponsorship in a sport and there is no sport, well, then you should probably expect your money back. But it also, like the season tickets, you would probably be offered some kind of credit before people would want to return cash.
Yeah.
This is just, all of these questions have to be answered. We get asked about tickets a lot. The tickets have already been paid for. What would they do? Saints came out with their policy. I think it was on Thursday or Friday of last week. A lot of the NFL teams have done that. Would the colleges, follow suit similarly? I would think if it came to that. You're hoping that it doesn't come to that. But what are you going to do? I mean, because I don't know how you feel, but at this point, if there is football, I've lost most of the hope that I had that any college campuses are going to have any fans at all, or very few, if they do. I mean, I'd like to be able to tell you different.
Right. Going back to the original, talking about corporate sponsors, you're talking about a lot of people pay a lot of money to have banners and different things shown on TV and have 100,000 eyeballs on them. And
this is part of the $4 billion economic impact that we're talking about for college football.
I mean, we hadn't even gotten to the point of people that pay money to get points to be able to have the right to pay for tickets and suites. And we're not talking about LSU only here. We're talking about across the footprint, right? All of these, a lot of these are family-owned businesses that have been doing this for a very long time, and they pay the rights and the fees just to have the right to buy the ticket. And they still pay full ticket price, right? We all know people that have suites in different places, and that is a logistical nightmare as far as what to do, how to give them their money back. If they give them their money back, do they try to, give you a credit for the next year? You're talking about when that much money's changing hands and going back and getting refunded, that doesn't happen quickly. It's not something that the bank just says, oh, yeah, sure, push this button real quick. That's not going to be the scenario.
Let me give you some football news. This is
please let it be good.
Well, yeah, it is.
Okay.
It's the Bednarik Award watch list. This is the best defensive player in college football. LSU's got 3 players that made it. Did you see the list?
I did not.
Okay. I think 2 of them very easy. The third one might be a little bit surprising.
Okay, so 3 defense players. Derek Stingley is going to be the first one.
Of course.
Jacoby Stevens is going to be the second one.
Of course. And the third one might surprise you a little bit.
Can I have 2 guesses?
Well, sure.
Okay, good.
Give you as many guesses as you want.
Tyler Shelvin and Jabril Cox.
Tyler Shelvin would have been my guess, but it is Jabril Cox.
It is? Okay.
And that might surprise people because he is a transfer.
He would have been my 4th option, but he is a transfer, but he's coming from the best program at the level that he played at. He was the best player on the defense. Talking with Jim Nagy, the executive director of the Senior Bowl, the Reese's Senior Bowl. I got to give Reese's some love. This is a guy that would have been drafted this year. So he wouldn't have been the first name out of my mouth there, obviously, but I can see them adding him to that list because of his pedigree and his resume at the FCS level and what he did to dominate.
And for all the talk that we've had about going from the 3-4 to the 4-3, I'm of the opinion that they're not going to have 3 linebackers on the field very much outside of, short yardage and things like that, I think you're going to see probably, if you take goal line out of it, maybe 95% of the other snaps, you're going to have 5 defensive backs on the field outside of, some short yardage situations.
I'm trying to think of any team on the schedule that would still run an offense that would require to have 3 linebackers on the field. Sometimes now Jimbo it gets stuck in his ways a little bit as far as Jimbo still runs 12 personnel with 2 tight ends.
Yeah.
He still runs 21 personnel, a lot more than anybody else in the Southeastern Conference, with a fullback, so 2 backs, a lot of I formation, 1 tight end, 2 receivers there. So he does do that. So maybe when you play Texas A&M, but outside of that, it's hard to imagine another team that would require what we know to be a 4-3 defense. We talked about it last week. You can still have a 4-3 defense, even if you're in sub package, but that third linebacker is a nickel Sam, a nickel Will, so it's still a defensive back in that system.
When they defend, and we don't know exactly what Arkansas is going to look like with Sam Pittman.
That's a very good point.
That's
a very good point. Now, gosh, Arkansas, Bielema, right? We're going to run power. We're going to run counter. We're going to be the biggest offensive line in the SEC, and then you try to wholesale change the deal to go to the spread under Chad Morris. That didn't work out either way, right? So if I'm Sam Pittman, do I come in and say, hey, this is what I know, I'm an offensive line coach? Do I say, hey, I'm a CEO, I'm going to give my coordinator the autonomy to be able to do whatever he wants? That's really the big question mark.
I even wonder if in that 12 personnel, you're still not with 5 defensive backs. For instance, when the Saints run it, and the Saints are one of the teams in the NFL that runs it. The Patriots used to back when Gronkowski and when Aaron Hernandez, late Aaron Hernandez was there. They ran a lot of that stuff, but they primarily passed off the formation. So I don't know if you maybe still don't defend that with 5 DBs.
Well, it's a good point that you bring up, but Jimbo still likes to establish the run, and that's really what they struggled with a year ago. They didn't really have that guy to establish the run with. So when you're a guy who wants to run the football and you like to set up your big plays off play action because you like to run the football and you don't have a bell cow back there to run the ball and you don't have another card, you don't have a wild card in your back pocket to switch it up, that's where you get in trouble. That's what happens when Texas A&M comes to Tiger Stadium and they didn't look prepared at all because LSU figured it out. They played really good defense against that 12 personnel, and A&M didn't have another card to pull out of their back pocket, right? And so sometimes Jimbo still likes to be run heavy out of 12 personnel. But going back to your point, you don't always have to have the same nickel either. Like Kerry Vincent's going to be the nickel, but say you play a 12 personnel team. Well, maybe you go with a little bit bigger nickel. Maybe you move Kerry Vincent somewhere else. There's a ton of different ways to change your personnel to match what the other team's doing.
Doesn't Jacoby Stevens fit that
He
bill
can do whatever
perfectly?
you want. Jacoby Stevens can literally do whatever you want him to do. Last year, we saw him play all over the board. 2 years ago, we saw him basically as an outside linebacker. Go back and watch the 2018 tape against Auburn in Jordan Hare. He was rushing the passer, like bull rushing left tackles. There was 2 times in that game he bull rushed the left tackle back to the quarterback. And then the next year he's playing the deep safety on a national championship team. You know how extremely difficult that is to have that skill set? So he's a guy that whatever you want to match up with, he can do it.
Today's show is also brought to you in part by Louisiana Health and Injury Centers with 4 locations in Baton Rouge to help you deal with pain, whether it be from auto accidents, sports injuries, or sometimes just those nagging pains that occur when you just age. Whether you got a disc, a muscle, a ligament strain, neck or back discomfort, they can help ease your suffering. Maybe they'll give you some exercises and stretches to do, or you may require some dry needling, electric nerve stimulation, ultrasound, or cryotherapy. They'll tailor-make a program especially for you. 4 locations: 13406 Airline Highway, 2832 Plank Road, 467 Oak Plaza Boulevard in Bruley, and on Jefferson Highway near Drusilla, with easy access from both I-10 and I-12. Louisiana Health and Injury Centers. We'll take a break here. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hanging with Hester and Hanny.
All right, remember, Hungry Howie's has that 51% off deal this week. Again, 51% off. Use the promo code 510FF there at hungryhowies.com. Well, is that 51% deal not good enough for you? Well, it should be because it's a gigantic deal, but also offering 3 medium, 1-topping pizzas for just $15, plus that free flavor crust that we always tell you about. There's literally no better deal in pizza. It's all about the variety at Hungry Howie's. Still get the deal whether you get your pizza delivered or pick up. It doesn't matter, pick up or delivery. But that's not all they have over at Hungry Howie's. Remember, they've got their calzones, they've got their wings, they've got the Howie bread, pizza rolls, salads. You can also finish it off by sharing the big Howie cookie with the family. Multiple ways to get all of those deals and to get your pizza to you. Do not forget about hungryhowies.com. That's where you put that promo code 510FFN for your 51% off week. Don't forget about the Hungry Howie's app. Of course, that location over there on Nicholson. That's hungryhowies.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
At All Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All Star Toyota today.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens. Make that thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
Get an eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. The SEC athletic directors are meeting in Birmingham. What comes to that meeting? We'll talk about it Monday at 3. Join us, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
Brought to you by Richard's Honda, home of the warm, fuzzy feeling. Hanging with Hester and Hanny. Also get us on our YouTube page, 104.5 ESPN. Probably the biggest name so far that has come down with the or has tested positive for the coronavirus is Russell Westbrook. The Rockets confirmed that he has tested positive before the team left for Orlando. Still, Mike D'Antoni said that he hoped that both he and James Harden, who has also been absent from thing would be ready by the start of play. Players have quarantined in their rooms for 48 hours before they started practicing with the Rockets. So we talked about what would happen when the big names, if what happens
Right.
if the big. Well, this is probably, I would say, the biggest name so far that has come down with it. It's real simple, and I'm encouraged at least by the fact that this did not create a major firestorm in the media. Okay, well, we're going to do with him what we do with everybody else. We're going to sideline you for 14 days, and then we're going to bring you back. The other news out of the bubble this weekend was Zion Williamson, and the people that were talking about having watched a little bit of his practices, that he did not waste any time during the break, and that he looked better shooting the basketball. Alvin Gentry said he had saw that. He also credited his stepfather, Lee Anderson, for working with him all during the break. And I'm excited that I can actually watch a game here in 2 weeks that I don't already know the outcome of. But I'm also really kind of starting to build a little bit of hope for the Pels when they get back.
Even hope for, even you mentioned Westbrook tested positive. Well, he put out a statement, said, "Hey, I tested positive for COVID-19 prior to my team's departure to Orlando. I'm currently feeling well, quarantined, and looking forward to rejoining my teammates when I am cleared. Thank you for all the well wishes and continued support. Please take this virus seriously. Be safe. Mask up. #why not?" That's important. They're saying, I will rejoin my team. I look forward to that. So after the quarantine process, he looks forward to getting to Orlando with his teammates. You mentioned there with the Houston Rockets. And that's an encouraging sign, right? That even though he has it right now, he's going to quarantine, go through the process, and get to Orlando. And then getting back to the Pelicans, it seems like they have done everything the right way during this break. Some teams have not. There's been some teams that are struggling. They are limping into Orlando. The Pelicans don't seem to be one of those teams. They have seemed to do the quarantine process. I know you had 3 positive tests there at the beginning, but even when that happened, they said, okay, they did, what they were supposed to do during that time. And it seems like they are as full strength as they possibly can be, mentally and physically, right? Then, of course, we saw J.J. Redick shotgun a beer there down in Orlando. Hey, you got to live as well, right? You got to live your best life. But it seems like every advantage that they could possibly have, they will have. I am so looking forward to, of course, playing, live sporting events in the major sports in America again. It feels like the Pelicans' chemistry didn't go to the wayside. So even with the long layoff, I'm looking forward to watching the game and to see where that chemistry is, because I think that's one thing that really changed them, because there could have been a deal where Zion comes back. Maybe they don't feel like, the vets on the team, this rookie, how's it going to work? No, they embraced him coming back, and they have moved forward as a team. And I think that is a big, gigantic difference maker when it comes to getting that last playoff spot.
Am I just too desperate for good news that I'm reading too much into this, that a star the magnitude of Russell Westbrook goes out and says, yes, I tested positive, but I want to go back? If Westbrook had instead said, you know what, I tested positive, I'm staying home. I'm not going down there. I'm not putting myself in that position. And if Westbrook is, like I said, a big enough star that potentially that could have influenced others. Oh, Westbrook's out, I'm out. That didn't happen here. Well, like I said, maybe I'm just so desperate for good news that I'm reading more into this than I should. But I'm at least encouraged by the fact that somebody of that stature says, yeah, I tested positive, but I'm going to do everything I can to get down there and play.
And I'm with you. And that's his mentality. There's one thing you can say about Westbrook. It is the fact that Russell Westbrook is a very competitive person. I mean, right? He is always on an 11 when he's on the court. There's no denying his hustle, his effort, and all those things. And so he is a guy that I'm not surprised would hurry up and get back on the court. But I do think if we're trying to find some sunshine, it's okay, because there hasn't been a lot. So the fact that he is going to rejoin his team whenever he has the ability to do so, that is a big step. There's other players in the NBA that aren't on his level that said, I'm not going. I'm okay. I've tested positive. I'm not going down there, even after the quarantine process. And do the Rockets have a chance to win a championship? A long shot, but they still have the opportunity anytime you have 2 players like Harden and Westbrook on your team. And so that is encouraging. It's okay, Hanny, to find any encouraging notes that you can find during this time. I'm even okay with Major League Baseball. There's some players that said, we'll wear a mask during the game. I don't care. Oh, great. If that's what you want to do, you feel comfortable doing that, and that's what it takes, wear a mask during the game. They did it during the 1918 flu. You had Major League Baseball players at that time wear a mask during a game. So if you feel safe to do so, that's okay. I'm not going to have an uproar about you wearing a mask during a game because I find that as positive news and the fact that you're going to be playing out there on the field.
You know, they're taking this so seriously. There's a reserve forward for the Rockets named Bruno Cabalco that broke the quarantine by leaving his room. They're sitting him for another 8 days. I mean, he thought that he would be, as I understand it, he left the room to go somewhere else in the hotel. He didn't leave the property or anything. He just went somewhere else in the hotel. He was supposed to stay in that room for, I believe it was 48 hours. And they said, okay, you got out. You have been now exposed. We're going to put you back in a quarantine for 8 days. Yeah. Now, it's not LeBron James, okay, but it's, you know, it's a guy that is a member of the Houston Rockets and said, okay, I don't care if you went down to the vending machine or the ice machine. You got out when we told you not to, and now you got to go back in the incubator for 8 more days.
If you're going to create a bubble, that's, you know, that, and you have protocols in place, that's what it's going to be. Now, to your point, it wasn't the biggest star, so if it was a star, what does that look like?
Right.
But if you want to keep this bubble as safe as possible and you want to shout it out there to the public that it's as safe as possible, those are things that have to be done.
Cole Cubelic with us in hour number 3, as well as some comments from Eddie Bonine, the LHSA's executive director, about high school football. We'll do that when it ain't great. We can come back here hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny.
A lot for the wealthy.
This is a house call. This is a test result. This is a prescription refill. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare. Start your virtual visit today at Auctioner Health.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens. Make that thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
In and eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Le posso offrire un caffè? Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è.
Call Mr. Electric today for electrical repairs, upgrades, and installations.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Visit Bayou Ford for a new 2020 Ford F-150 for only $30,400 with 0% for 72 months. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Callahan Injury Lawyers. Now, Hangin with Hester and Hanny with Jacob Hester and Charles Hanagriff. Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger. Alongside Jacob Hester, here's Charles Hanagriff.
Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge, 1130 The Tiger in Shreveport. Also watch us on CST and Facebook Live and on our YouTube page, 104.5 ESPN. Please subscribe. The director of the LHSA, Eddie Bonine, was speaking today to the House Education Committee, I believe it was, and said that the LHSA has no plans to cancel sports seasons and says flipping spring and fall seasons is not a first option. He says the LHSA wants to keep the seasons in place for fall and spring, if at all possible. But then he said that football cannot begin until Louisiana gets to phase 4 of reopening, and no decision is made on fans at games, but no fans could be an option, but says that would be a financial hardship for some schools. That's all being reported by Robin Fambro over at The Advocate. I like to think that I'm as optimistic as the next guy, but seeing them get to phase 4 between now and the 1st of September seems like, that seems like that's just hoping against hope.
I mean, over the weekend, John Bell Edwards had a press conference. We were actually at our football camp, and our phones all started to blow up about, 2:30 press conference, and a lot of people, the rumor was going back to phase 1. Now, obviously, that didn't happen. There's some other regulations put in place, but we're closer to phase 1 right now than we are to phase 3. And so to get to phase 4, that's a little tough. To get to phase 3 right now, hopefully, the numbers go down. And as we know, everybody in the state of Louisiana has to wear a mask, as well as the bordering states of Texas and Mississippi. So, the hope is, to get to phase 3, but what are we talking about? When do we get to phase 3? Is that Labor Day? When is that? And then you're talking about practicing for, how long do you give these high school athletes to practice? Is it 2 weeks?
I would say 3 at minimum.
2. 2. I think 3 weeks minimum, but 2 would be the absolute bare minimum, and that's pushing it. And so not on time. I mean, no way right now with this information do you start anywhere on time.
No, because you got summer camps that are going on right now, okay? But these are non-padded practices. You would be looking at, under a normal situation, probably starting padded practices in about 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks from right now. I can't, under even the most optimistic scenario, see us moving to phase 3 in 2 weeks. I mean, I hope, but I don't have hope is all it is.
You're about a week away from week 0 teams having the ability to start college training camp.
Yeah, and
about a week, right? Because Miami and Florida both middle of July a year ago. Because when we were in Birmingham for media days, I mean, we were talking with those players about, hey, you're starting up like in 10 days or whatever that number was. And so does that happen? Now, week 0, probably not going to have any of the games, I would assume, at this point, right?
And those are all non-conference games, right? Or was there a week 0 conference game? I don't remember.
There's a week 1 conference game, but I don't believe there's a week 0 conference game. So those look like they're going away. I know Notre Dame and Navy was the game that's supposed to be in Dublin. That was a week 0 game.
They moved that back.
Right.
Now Navy did get a waiver out of the cancellations early, the Patriot League.
Well, since they're not in the Patriot League,
they're not in the Patriot
football,
League for
right.
football, so they can. Well, if they can play that, who knows?
Going back to the high school point, this is gigantic because you've heard me sit here and say that is something you will never get back. And it doesn't matter if you are me or if you're someone else listening. It doesn't matter. I was fortunate enough to go play college football in the professional ranks. Even if you don't get that opportunity, like everybody involved, if you lost a year of high school, it would be devastating. I know for me, it would have been devastating, even though I had the opportunity to play after. I cannot imagine Hanagriff after the fact that it gets canceled and you have nothing else. These are the moments in your life where you build your strongest relationships, your strongest bonds. Everybody listening to this show has a high school teammate that they still talk with on a weekly basis, right? They have a high school coach that they were extremely close with. They have somebody in their life because of high school athletics that molded who they are today. I know I do. I'm sure you do. I'm sure Paul does. I'm sure Kate does. And so for me, more than any other group that's losing what they're losing, I feel bad for the high school athletes, boys, girls, the spring semester sports that got canceled last year, the fall sports that potentially get canceled this year. You will never get this time back in your life. I think if you polled a lot of people in Baton Rouge and they said, hey, I will give you one more opportunity to go back and play your senior year of your high school sport, every single one of us would say, I'm there. Sign me up. Let's go. I'll do it, right? Because it is so important in your life to who you become as an adult. So this is the biggest loss, in my opinion. I'm not talking about money. I realize the money that the professional and the high-tier college ranks will lose. I'm talking about as far as personal feelings and something that makes you who you are.
I was hoping that because of the sheer numbers that the high schools would have a better chance at playing than the colleges would. That if the colleges could not put back onto a campus, 30,000 undergrads at LSU or 8,000 undergrads at Southern, that if you couldn't put those students back on campus, then you weren't going to be able to have games. But I was hoping that you would be able to put the high schools back in. And, we've seen, whether it be Livingston Parish, St. John Parish, East Baton Rouge Parish, we've seen some different models for what they may be headed to. But it does seem like it's some kind of hybrid between being on campus and distance learning. But I was sort of holding out hope that because you don't have the numbers that you have at university, that you would be able to put the students back on campus and you could have, several hundred people at a high school football game where the rosters were 50, okay? We talked earlier with the restrictions that in Louisiana, if you're restricted to groups of, I think it's 25 or less now, you can't put a college football game on even with no fans without 200-300 people minimum, just from the rosters, the officials, the security, the doctors, the team personnel,
the analyst.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, even if you cut out all but the absolute essentials, you'd still have over 200 people. But the high schools, I thought, maybe you got a fighting chance here. This is not good. This is out of Bayou Ford Huddle. Nook says this is the same verdict they gave to Tennessee 2 weeks ago. That's right. Yeah. They were not going to be able to start any kind of activities until the end of August. And I remember I was on vacation that week. I saw that. I was like, if you can't even think about starting until the end of August with your team activities, and that's something that they felt compelled to announce the very first week of July, 2 months out, then you don't have a whole lot of hope for the season in Tennessee. To me, this is a pretty significant statement from Bonine that, hey, man, this is going to be tough.
People that I know that are close ties with high school football, they've been telling me for a couple of weeks that they are assuming everything is going to be pushed back a month regardless, right? Even before today, and we found out the comments that Bodine made. So, you know, imagine your Superdome is typically the first week of December. That's going to be the first week of January. So teams and coaches and administrators, you know, they kind of have a plan in place for everything to start about a month later. And we still got some ways to go to get there. But if it did start a month later, I think it's doable. Would the schedule be all over the place? A little bit. Obviously, we know that, gosh, we hadn't even gotten to the select, non-select part of it where you're playing championships in different spots. But, you know, the Superdome, would it be available that weekend? The Saints are, you know, hosting a playoff game. That comes into play because we know the Saints don't play home games that weekend. They go on the road, obviously. So that's something to pay attention to. And a lot of moving parts, but it's not totally surprising for the people that are in high school athletics every single day. They have been talking about pushing everything back a month for the last couple of weeks anyways. And so hopefully that if you get the green light, you're ready to go, and all you do is start a month later. That's the best case scenario it looks like right now.
Stephen in the Bayou Ford Huddle said, so 500 people can't watch small-town high school football, but 5,000 can watch travel baseball.
That's a great point.
At a given complex on the weekend. Travel baseball has largely
they're there.
Ignored
yes.
any kind of
it's happening.
They're just playing.
I mean, even not travel baseball, just regular leagues. It's playing. My son, who's 7 years old, right? I talked about it the other day. He had a game on Friday, and we were out there. And now they don't shake hands after the game. They do the old tip of the cap or whatever. But there was a lot of people out there, and there's no bleachers, and they're trying to do some different things, and they're doing a good job of it. But still, there was a lot of people there. Now, everybody had their lawn chairs out. Some people were standing along the fence, but there was, I don't want to put a number on it, but it was over 1,000. There was over 1,000 people there on the complex, and that's not just here. That's across everywhere that I've been. I know in Shreveport, I think they held a big soccer tournament over the weekend when there was thousands of people. So youth sports is not slowed down. And in Louisiana, at least, I can tell you, I told you, you know, my brother and sister play on the FC Dallas U15 team, and they've shut some of that down. So travel soccer, for the part that I know, is shut down, but travel baseball has got numbers in the thousands that are going every weekend to these tournaments.
And we're seeing very, very, very small, if not in some cases non-existent, numbers of positive tests with players, with kids that age. We're talking about teenagers and younger. The numbers there are very, very very, very low. Your son's obviously playing. You feel safe. I mean, otherwise, I have to assume, otherwise you wouldn't let him play.
No, I do, and we're doing everything that we can, right? And touch your stuff only. And my wife Katie has the hand sanitizer following behind all of my other boys that are at the games and different things, just like we did our football camp. Between every drill, my wife and Richard's wife was out there with hand sanitizer. He mentioned we were spraying the bar down, everything between literally every rep. We were wiping the balls down as well. That's what my younger brother was doing during these drills, and we tried to stay as far apart as we could. The coaches all had masks on, and so we are trying to do things to make it as safe as possible. But, you know, I've told you for a long time how important I think that youth development is through sports, and we're going to continue to go out there. He's got practice today. He'll be there. Now, we're going to do everything we can to make it as safe as possible, but he'll be out there. My 10-year-old who plays tackle football, if they have a season, he will be out there. Will we do everything we can to keep him safe? Yeah, absolutely. There's no bigger love in life than your wife and your children, right? So we're going to do everything we can. But I know through my personal experience what youth development means through youth sports. It is the reason I am here today. It's the reason that I've been able to build my family to what it is because of the things that I learned through youth athletics. And so we'll be out there. If there's a team, if there's a game, and there's an opportunity, we will be there. Now, that's not to say we're going to be like, I'm not wearing a mask. I wear a mask everywhere I go. If I get out and I pump gas, I wear a mask. If I go to the grocery store, I'm going to wear a mask. And that's what I'm going to do because I feel like that's the safest thing for my family. But that doesn't mean I'm going to stay in my house, Hanny, and not let my children develop through sports.
Moving the season back, let's go. Let me try this scenario out on you. They don't get to go back until, let's say, September to practice and start a season in October that would end in either late December or into maybe even January. Doable, in your opinion?
I think it's doable. When you look at the layout of high school sports, that I don't want to say it's a dead period, but January is kind of your lightest month as far as everything that's going on because baseball's starting to get ready. I know soccer had started a little bit in some places, not all the places, so they really get to go February, March time.
How many combination football, basketball players do you
got
have?
a lot.
It's a lot.
You got a lot. Now, you got to get creative. It's almost going to be like even at your 5A schools, you're going to have like the 1A schedule as far as you got 3 sports maybe in one day. I know at Evangel, even though we were 5A, we were 1A size. And if you played one sport, Hanny, you had to play at least 2. There was no specialized, you're only going to play one sport. So I was baseball, football, and soccer for the most part, track early days. But it was like running across the street, changing uniforms as you go, right? In spring football, you'd practice and you'd run and try to put your baseball uniform on and hit left field before the first pitch. And you can have some of that, but it's doable.
It made us run track. If you played football, you were forced to be on the track team, and if you weren't good enough to qualify for an event in the meet,
you're still gonna practice.
You just ran. Believe me, I learned how to throw the javelin real quick when I found out that if you didn't play an event, all you did was run.
That was going to be my next statement. My best friend in high school wasn't a runner. He wasn't a runner, and he didn't qualify. And they were like, "Yeah, you're just going to run." He goes, "I'm going to learn to throw that javelin." And he did it well, but he's like, "I'm not running."
You do, and look, it's not the easiest thing to do because it's all technique. Or the reason I got to throw it was because the guy that was ahead of me taught me how before anybody else. All the linemen went over to throw the shot put in the distance. Let me go see if I can throw that thing. And then one of the other guys came over after he lost out at the shot put thing. He's like, "Let me see. I'll throw that thing." He threw it. And, of course, if you don't throw it properly, it helicopters on you.
Sure.
And if it lands on the tail, you got a good chance to break it. Well, he did, and we had 2 javelins, okay? It's a Class A school. We had 2 javelins. And javelins back then, I think, were about $300 a piece, which doesn't sound like a lot, except you're on a budget at a Class A school.
That's still a lot in 2020 to me.
Right, and so he broke it, and they said, "That's it. Nobody but you 2 can throw the javelin," and that's how I got to throw the javelin.
Good for
They
you.
didn't let anybody else do it after Jeffrey broke the second javelin.
Out of my skill sets, throwing any object was not part of them, so I had to run, and I ran the 400, and I loved it. But also, you could run 10 400s, and all 10 of them were going to be different. You know, as far as, hey, when do I hit the accelerator? How do I hold back? And it takes you a while to figure that out. And by the time I figured it out, it was like, hey, I'm playing 4 sports. I think I'm going to concentrate on the other 3.
Right. So those comments from Eddie Bonine today that going to make it tough on high school football. We'll take a break. Cole Cubelic, when we come back, we are hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hanging with Hester and Hanny.
Sports will be back.
But for now, we're all rooting for a different kind of hero.
Let's embody the best parts of sports.
Teamwork,
sacrifice,
resilience.
One goal, together.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
Here at the Big Squeezy, we continue to serve the Baton Rouge and Southeast Louisiana areas during these troubling times. We are dedicated to providing you healthy food items to help you live your best life. From our cold-pressed juices to our delicious smoothies, let the Big Squeezy keep you going. Stay active, stay happy, and let us help you stay healthy. Visit us at our locations and also inside of Alexander's and Mathern's grocery stores or online at thebigsqueezy.com.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big V and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7, The Tiger.
Hi, this is Chance Inman, President and Chief Operating Officer for Janney King Gulf Coast. Here are some ways to protect yourself and those around you from the coronavirus. Wash your hands often and thoroughly. Cover coughs and sneezes with your elbow. Disinfect high-touch surfaces regularly. Use non-contact methods for greeting others. And avoid touching your face. Following these steps, as well as social distancing, should help all of us stay healthy.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off at checkout.
Richard's Honda is constantly looking for smart ways to make things easier for you. So we created our buy from home option. It's the easiest, most convenient way to shop for a car, all from the comforts and safety of your own home. Just log on to richardshonda.com, click on the buy from home button, and with a few simple steps, your new or pre-owned car will be ready for pickup or delivered right to your door. It's fast, easy, and smart.
Coming up on Tuesdays Off the Bench, Coach O stops by to update you on the status of SEC football as well as SEC Associate Commissioner Herb Vincent. Brand new OTB mailbag will answer all of life's most pressing questions. Off the Bench, 104.5 ESPN.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
Cole Cubelic going to come with us at the bottom of the hour, so we'll push him back here just a couple of minutes. He's a busy man.
Yeah, he's got a couple of irons in the fire already, as most people know, and between SiriusXM, his local radio show, and there's a couple of things going on in Birmingham right now where Cole is living that I'm pretty sure he's paying attention to, as we're trying to as well.
We're actually waiting for that ourselves. We're refreshing every source that we've got, and it's sort of like waiting for the smoke to come out of the chimney to tell you that they've got a new pope, right? We don't know what they're going to tell us today. They're not supposed to make any decisions public today. So if you're waiting for them to come out today and say all conference games or some kind of partnership with the ACC or the Big 12, that's not what I'm expecting today. If you were in that room, Jacob, what would you be saying to if you were in Scott Woodward's chair today? What would you say to the other ADs? Because I got to believe that they're going to come out of this with a united front because they all want the same thing.
Right. They all want it, and we've said this really since March the 12th, that if any college football conference was going to try to play football, it'd be the Southeastern Conference. And so I'm sure they're talking real numbers, but I'm sure they're also trying to come up with the best plan possible to play. Like, that is their goal, is to be on the football field, right? And so they're comparing notes. They're comparing scenarios. Hey, what if we did A, B, or C? Now, there's some out-of-the-box suggestions being made. There's no question about that. Things that we probably never would ever have imagined or thought of. When you hear Commissioner Greg Sankey say there is 20 to 25 plans in place and protocols that we're going to go down the list before we get to not playing football, well, you have to believe there's some creative things on that list. And so if I'm Scott Woodward, I'm saying, hey, guys, what do we absolutely have to do to get some sort of a product on the field. What does the schedule look like? How far do we have to push this thing back? Fans, not going to happen this year. I think we can all go ahead and admit that. We're not going to have fans, at least not at the beginning of the season, unless something changes, in the next, let's say, 3 months, maybe at the end of the season. We don't know any of that. We've got to get a product on the field to be able to say we are playing football games. And so I would love to be a fly on the wall to hear some of the ideas that are being thrown out. Because as we know, you can't do a bubble. You can't say, hey, we're going to Birmingham. We're going to close it down. We're going to shut it down. We're going to go play there. You can't say we're going to go to New Orleans or wherever, right? Because, well, you have school. Now, if every school's online, Hanny, technically I guess you could do something of that nature and have tutors and all that. But I think that's probably the last-ditch scenario that they would ever want. So
didn't they say at the beginning of this that if the students aren't on campus, they're not?
Well, we said a lot of
football.
things at the beginning.
That's true. you do have it. The situation does remain fluid for sure. I can't imagine that anything that comes out of there today is written in stone. Again, they're going to come out with basically what they can make as recommendations. They can propose things. This is what we'd like to have. This is what we would take. This is what our last resort is. But, for instance, we had a question on our YouTube chat that said, with the social limit of limits on the LSU campus, the social limits period, how does LSU practice football? You got 100 guys out there. I mean,
right.
Yeah, technically you're making an exception, I guess. I mean, I'm not telling tales out of school here. They're practicing football over there. They got 85 scholarship athletes.
Yeah, it's got to go back to the 250 for them to practice football. The only way they could do it with the 50 is if you had your position coach with his group out there solo.
Which is what they're doing right now. I mean, when I say they're practicing right now, they're not in a padded practice. They're in they're in summer workouts where everybody's together technically, but you're in smaller groups. But yeah, I mean, by the letter of that law, no, you can't practice football. You can't have class really. I mean, or you can't have a lot of classes.
When do you, Hanny, expect something to break as far as trying to get to phase 3? How many weeks is the governor going to give, the new mandates put in place before he makes a decision? Do you think it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month? What is it? Because that matters. If you're talking about 2 weeks, then, August 1st-ish is when you normally would, get ready for the football season. If you go back to 250, well, then you practice like you normally would.
Was it 24th, I believe, the original? Yeah, that was when the last order expires. So on the 24th, you either got to reissue phase 2 or talk about your different direction. Do you think a week from this Friday we're going to phase 3? I mean,
no,
I don't. I mean, we went backwards Saturday.
Yeah, we did. I would assume that decision is pushed back to August the 1st. At best.
A week after that's July 31st. Got me. I mean, I couldn't even hazard a guess at this point. I would say, I'm looking at this calendar. The last 2 times the governor has issued a proclamation, it was for 3 weeks, and then it was for 4 weeks. So if he reissues something on the 24th and goes by those guidelines, and you're into the middle of August, mid to late August. And like I said, it seems like from a policy standpoint, we went backwards on Saturday.
Yep.
Somebody in the huddle said that it was akin to phase 1.5. I think that's a reasonable analogy, is what we what we went back to, because it wasn't all the restrictions of phase 1, but it did have some tweaks to what they were dealing with in phase 2. So, all right, we'll take a break. When we come back, Cole Cubelic will join us. We are on Facebook Live and CST, our YouTube page, 104.5 ESPN. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hanging with Hester and Hanny.
All right, we're brought to you every single day by Baton Rouge Foundation Repair. Are you considering buying a house that has foundation problems? Some companies say their work will fail if there is poor drainage around your slab, and you might be asked to pay again. Look, poor drainage in South Louisiana, we know that's something. Don't pay again. Let Baton Rouge Foundation Repair's water shield pilings that are engineered to withstand that poor drainage conditions work for you. Baton Rouge Foundation Repair has been servicing the greater Baton Rouge area for more than 22 2 years. And I always tell you, the owner, Michael and Monica, who's lived in Baton Rouge his entire life, the well-being of Baton Rouge and being fair to the Baton Rouge customer is the most important thing to him. It's the thing he said from day one. Don't be asked to pay twice for your foundation repair work. Get Baton Rouge Foundation Repairs water-chilled pilings. And estimates, they are always free. You can give them a call at 225-275-0101. That's 225-275-0101 or at brfoundation.com.
We opened up the playbook and expanded our coverage. Listen daily in high definition on 98.1 HD2. We are 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Gulf Coast Bank & Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank & Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens. Make that thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. The SEC athletic directors are meeting in Birmingham. What comes to that meeting? We'll talk about it Monday at 3. Join us, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
We're brought to you by Richard's Honda, home of the warm, fuzzy feeling. Cole Cubelic joins us now. Cole, good afternoon. How are you?
How are you?
Doing outstanding. You know, we got word here within the last hour from the commissioner of the Louisiana High School Athletic Association that indicated that football couldn't happen here until high school football couldn't happen here until phase 4. So let's start there with where you are in the Birmingham area. Before we get to the colleges, what's the latest with high school football in Alabama?
Yeah, there hasn't been an announcement, but I have spoken to a few coaches who say they're confident that they can make it happen. I think they're optimistic, and I don't know if that's fair. I mean, I'm sure if you're a coach, you want your team to go, you want to be out there competing, playing, but we're talking about a lot of schools that are not going to have the means to do any kind of testing anywhere near what we've spoken about with college football. If you're going to have a bunch of kids going out and being in locker rooms together, practicing against each other, playing against other teams, and testing is not going to be a real part of that, I just wonder how you do it. And you can't help but think about legally what's down the road in a lot of these instances, not just high school football. But I don't know. It would crush me to hear high school football canceled anywhere. I saw Utah come out and say they're going to play. I saw Texas say they might not play. I can't imagine being a high school kid going into my junior year, senior year. You put everything into it, and then all of a sudden you don't have games. We already saw that in the spring of last year. I mean, I had a cousin that's in Columbia, South Carolina. It was her senior year of soccer. She's going to Auburn, and she didn't get to play. I mean, she's played travel soccer since she was 8 years old, and senior year of high school soccer and just nothing, not one game. So those opportunities being taken away are just it's unfortunate. I hate it, and I hope they find a way to do it, but it seems like it's going to be a difficult task.
And that's the thing, Cole. You and I have talked about this for a long time. Even though we were fortunate enough to play in college, your high school memories with your high school teammates, and we all have a buddy, as we were talking about earlier. We have a buddy that we still keep close contact with. We have a coach that we keep in contact with. And you build so many different relationships that last a lifetime through high school athletics. It's a shame that they'll never get that year back. And you mentioned it. The spring already had it. Now you're talking about the fall sports potentially having that as well. It's not like college. There's no redshirting in high school.
No, and you wonder, is there a way to do something like that? I was talking about this, just thinking out loud, on my show last week when this came up, and I said, is there a penalty if you sit out a year in high school? I mean, I don't know that. I don't know the answer to that. I would imagine that if you're not enrolled, that you can't just go back the next year, but could there be some sort of a waiver where, from an athletic perspective, a kid said, I'm not going to go to school this year, but I'm going to come back next year and compete in their senior year? I don't think that sounds feasible, but in these instances, I think you have to make some concessions for certain people. Not every kid's a five-star right now. Not every kid's getting recruited by LSU or even Tulane or Southern Miss. I mean, some kids need that senior year to be able to boost their stock and to be able to make coaches aware of what they can do. I mean, maybe the kid just flat out had a baller in front of him last year and didn't get to play, and now might have an opportunity to go play. So it's that's the consistent theme for me that I hate more than anything in all of this is opportunities that are going to be taken away. Because you start talking about, everybody focuses on a group of five. How about the FCS for a minute? The SEC has 13 games scheduled against FCS teams this fall. Those are going to be gone. And that's not – some people may think that that's their budget, their football budget for the year, or no, that's their athletic department budget for the year that's now gone. And what most likely happens is you're going to lose football. You're not going to lose it for a year. You're going to lose it altogether because they're not going to be able to afford the coaches, the athletic trainers, the equipment managers, the people who are in player personnel, the tutors, the academic advisors. They're all going to be gone. And then what happens to track, softball, swimming, baseball, tennis, golf? They're all gone. Think about those, just the amount of opportunities for people to better themselves, to compete, to push themselves, to face adversity, and the things that helped us when we got 10, 15, 20 years older than we were in high school or middle school or competing as athletes in college. That's what I hate more than anything else, is those are going to be stripped away from so many young people, and they're not going to get to experience a lot of those things that we were able to experience.
Cole, the 14 athletic directors are meeting with the Southeastern Conference officials today in Birmingham. What do you think's on the table in that room right now?
I've seen some people talking about all these different things that are going to be discussed and how this meeting was already scheduled and all these other seasons are on the plate. I don't know how that can be a real thought in anyone's mind. This is football, and this is the football schedule. And for me, that's all it is. I think there will most likely be two blueprints for a schedule that they will need to decide upon which one they want to take back to their presidents and which one will be best suited for them to get some semblance of a season in. I think option A will be a completely revamped schedule, one totally different than anything you have now. That doesn't mean that LSU won't play Alabama or LSU won't play Auburn or LSU won't play Florida. Just you might not play them when you play them, and there might be a game or two that you do have that's taken away. But a completely revamped 10-game SEC schedule that ends around mid-November, and I think there'll be an option to keep the SEC games that you have in a different schedule that's also a 10-game SEC schedule, and to go from 8 to 10, you'll probably add your next two cross-divisional teams that you're scheduled to play in 2021 and 2022. So I think in the first semblance there, you're probably looking at geography being what is most important. If you're going to redo everything, well, then you got LSU is going to probably play the Mississippi schools. They're going to play Arkansas. They're going to play Missouri. They're going to play A&M. And you try to make things work that way to just sort of mitigate the risk and make things as easy logistically as possible. You're not sending Missouri to Athens, Georgia. You're not sending them to Columbia, South Carolina. You're not sending them to Gainesville. So I think, Auburn probably ends up with more teams from the East in that instance. And that would probably be, at the front of that. And what you're thinking, I think with the second option of adding your next two cross-divisional opponents, it's probably pretty simple as saying fair, because every AD is going to complain about whatever they throw out there. There's going to be a guy or multiple guys that just says, well, how do we end up with them and they end up with them? Why do we have to go play there and they have to go play there? So you can negate all of that by just saying, this is what we're taking. It doesn't matter who the teams are. Move forward with it. So I think those are probably what they thought were their two biggest hurdles, or maybe what they thought were going to be the two most important things to all those ADs. And that's what they most likely drew up and what they'll discuss today. We're not going to find out anything today. I think Greg's being pretty patient on this. I think he wants to wait. I don't think he has any problem waiting. If anybody thinks that any of these other leagues, the Colonial or the Ivy League or the Big Ten or, the Centennial League or Arizona Junior College, the Patriot League or the Pac-12 have anything to do with him making a decision, you are flat out wrong. He's going to push this thing back as far as possible, which I actually think is smart, because so much can change in such a hurry. And why not be patient? Because you really only get one shot at this. You only get one shot at doing it. I say right, but right could be so much different than what we're used to that I don't know if many people would describe it as that once it's over. But to get something close to normalcy, you really only have one chance. And if that means pushing it back till October the 3rd or pushing it back until third week of September, whatever it is, you take your time before you make that decision.
Catching up with Cole Cubelic here on Hanging with Hester and Hanny. Cole, I'll be honest with you, I was hoping that you would report like Ethan Hunt from Mission Impossible, like you would sneak into the ceiling since you're there close to Birmingham, and you would just drop down in the room, and maybe you could just live video feed the whole meeting today. Are you up for that?
I would have loved to have done some play-by-play, but I'm not sure if I would have been employed afterwards.
Okay.
It would have been fun.
That's very fair. Hey, but on a serious note, we've been talking about different scenarios with other conferences. Do you see any way that maybe we see the SEC and the ACC or maybe even the Big 12 get together and come up with their own schedule? Because you already have 7 games between SEC and ACC schools. You have the 3 there between SEC and the Big 12. Any possible, even hypothetical scenario you can see where these conferences come together to try to fill a schedule out?
I love that you're just counting Notre Dame and Arkansas as an ACC-SEC game. I don't believe, based on what I've been told and people I've spoken to, I don't think the ACC is down to play that game. I don't think. I think the ACC wants to play a conference season. I think the SEC would be willing to sort of leave that weekend open. I don't know if they're going to definitively go out and say, yes, Georgia Tech. Yes, Florida State. Yes, Clemson, South Carolina. We're definitely playing those. I think you just don't shut the door on it, and then you wait. If you can find a way to get it in, and then some of your other schools can get a non-conference game in or two, then you find a way to do that as well, because we don't know what it's going to look like come mid to late November. But from what I've been told, the ACC is not overly interested in doing that right now. And I hate to hear that because, like you said, it's not just those games. I mean, we got Auburn, North Carolina. We got Georgia, Virginia. So there's a lot of good games that are out there that we wish we could see played. But I think right now it's about control and everybody wants to be a part and wants to schedule things that they know they have the most control over.
Cole Cubelic from the SEC Network is our guest. Cole, in the tack that Greg Sankey is taking here to take his time and use all of the time that he can have, what, in your opinion, is the drop dead date? When do they have to have a schedule in place?
It's interesting because I would have normally told you that it was August the 1st. And I think when you look at the dates of July 19th and July 25th, those are 6 weeks out from the two start dates of college football, August 29th and September the 5th. Well, that's obviously when you need to – teams can begin practicing, so you're going to probably have to have a decision made by then. I think they definitely push it out to August 1st no matter what. But if you make a decision to, let's just say, start the season the first weekend of October, I don't think you have to make that decision on October the 1st. I think you can come out and say the beginning of the season will be delayed. That's all you got to do. And you just leave it open, leave it vague, and then you kind of wait and see what happens, and you try to maneuver from there. I think we will hear something on or by August the 1st. Is it going to be a definitive layout, definitive blueprint of what the schedule is going to be? I actually say right now, I say probably not, because I think the wait-and-see approach is going to be – listen, Greg's already seen the Big Ten jump out in front of everybody and try to go do their own thing. So now I would not be surprised to see him do the exact opposite and just say, you know what? We thought we were all locked arms walking down this path together. You decided to bail out. So we're going back to the drawing board. And I actually think that was the best thing for SEC football, especially happening in the fall, because now they can do what they want against who they want, when they want to, and they don't have to worry about going and sitting in front of Congress. They don't have to worry about making other conferences mad. They don't have to worry about holding hands and dragging people along. They can just go do what they want to do and find a way to get a season in.
Cole, last one from me, and you and I were hosting SEC Today on SiriusXM probably 6-7 weeks ago when a spring football season came up as a topic, and we gave our thoughts there about a guy who potentially gets injured, misses 2 seasons, all that, right? As we sit here 6 or 7 weeks later, do you have any different thoughts on a spring college football season if that's where we end up?
I mean, it's a last resort, Jacob. It has to be, because it has to happen inside of that fiscal year. So no one's going to rule it out. You're going to bring a lot of medical people in on that one, because even if you bump back 2021 to start in October, you're still talking about playing 22, 24, maybe some teams 28, 30 games in a calendar year. And if you went on the lighter end of that, let's just say 22 games in a calendar year. That's not – and you could make some adjustments. You could say, hey, no full pads in spring. You back off in the next fall practice. You change practice during the season, both seasons. But in an emergency situation, if they can get it in there after they couldn't get it in the fall, you better damn well believe we're going to see some college football in the spring. And I, for one, don't think that this tidal wave of players are going to sit out or would sit out. There are going to be some, and some guys probably should. But I don't even think the guys that everybody think are an absolute lock to sit out would sit out. I'll be. This is my honest opinion. I don't think Trevor Lawrence would sit out a 6 or 8 game spring season, just based on the kind of kid he is. I think he wants. The thing that people forget, and I don't know how you can forget this and cover or be around or play college football. The one thing that college football players love to do more than anything else is what, Jacob?
Play football, playing the games.
Play friggin' football. So they get a chance to play, they're probably going to play. It's not big business for every single kid. So these people that think 1,000 kids are going to sit out or, oh, God, the SEC won't be able to field teams. You're just wrong. And I'll be willing to bet, since college football has done so much heavy lifting and so much dirty work for the NFL for such a long time, they might say they're not moving right now. What are you going to have, a combine with 28 kids? Is that what you're going to do?
Yeah.
You have a combine with 30 kids, 40 kids? Come on, you're not doing that. So I talked to a scout last week, and I asked him, what's your schedule for the fall? He just laughs on the phone. He said, we don't have a schedule. He said, you know what my schedule is? And I said, what? He said, I'll tell you when college football has a schedule. So if that doesn't tell you that a major portion of what the NFL does is dependent on college football, then nothing else will.
Cole Cubelic, we appreciate your time. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Appreciate it, Cole.
Ask us when we return. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny.
All right, so the theme of the show has been this 51% off week taking place over at Hungry Howie's. 51% off any pizza this week, a gigantic deal, and free flavored crust. Again, promo code 510FF at hungryhowies.com to get that 51% off. And also, Hungry Howie's realizes that things have been tough lately. Lots of people losing their jobs. Still got some people furloughed, right? But Hungry Howie's is hiring. Apply at hungryhowies.com. Delivery drivers make $15 to $20 an hour. You need to own a car and have insurance, obviously, on your vehicle. And, what if you don't have a car or insurance? That is no problem. You can get a job to get in shape while delivering the new Hungry Howie e-bikes. I seen Ray actually over on his e-bike getting a workout in the neighborhood. These things are fantastic, great for the environment as well. Again, hungryhowies.com to apply for that job. They are hiring right now. Don't forget that promo code 510FF at hungryhowies.com.
Dear Sports is our love letter to sports. Share your Dear Sports letter with us. Call 860-506-6161 and read it to us. Or share a video or text using the hashtag Dear Sports on Twitter or Instagram.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens, make not thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers, offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Coming up on Tuesdays Off the Bench, Coach O stops by to update you on the status of SEC football as well as SEC Associate Commissioner Herb Vincent. Brand new OTB mailbag where we answer all of life's most pressing questions. Off the Bench, 104.5 ESPN.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
Wrapping up with Ask Us out of the Bayou Ford Huddle. Ask Us, who wins a free-for-all cage match between T-Bob, Hunt Palmer, Jordy Culotta, and Matt Moscona?
Oh, that's a great question. Definitely not Hunt or Moscona. God, Jordy's scrappy. I feel like Jordy would cheat, which is a thing in fighting that if you cheat and you win, you still get a win.
T-Bob's got a big size advantage there,
does.
though. I'm going with T-Bob. Ask Us, can you do a post show with more Corona talk? The huddle has been dominated by virus talk today.
It has, and I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming after the weekend that we had, and Commissioner Stanky having comments. I knew it was coming, and look, it's what's taking place right now.
Ask Us, favorite high school football memory?
Ooh, that's a great one. We're playing against Rockhurst, Missouri in Independence Stadium in Shreveport, Louisiana. I actually just told this story this weekend. We had a pass play called, and we were down by 6 with about a minute left, and I saw something on the defense, and I stepped in front of the direct snap, took it from the running back position, went about 78 yards to the 2-yard line, and then scored the next play, but still got in trouble because I stepped in front of the snap and it wasn't the play called. But we did beat Rockhurst, Missouri. Tony Temple was the running back for that team who played at Missouri for 4 years.
For me, it was the last game of my career that we won. We beat Kentwood under the water tower.
Kangaroos, baby.
Touchdown pass with about Rob Richardson to Reed Miller with about 2 minutes to go. Favorite Twitter follow? Non-sports.
Oh, non-sports. Do we follow anybody that's like not talking about
I'll tell you,
sports?
I follow this is going to sound sports, but it's not why I follow him. If you follow Rex Chapman, okay?
Oh, Rex is great. Yeah.
You know, obviously played professional basketball at Kentucky, but don't follow him for the sports stuff. Just follow him for the stuff he posts with dogs, okay? Because he's got some of the coolest dog videos that you're. So that's for me, it's him.
I can tell you my favorite is SEC StatCat, and gives like breakdowns of coverages and runs and where they go and all that. And as a stat nerd and as a coverage and running, lane nerd, I'm all over that one.
All right. We are out of time today. Stay tuned for AFR and the return of the brain to AFR. Thanks to all our guests today, and for Paul O'Neill and Cade Wazan for producing today's show. For Jacob Hester, I'm Charles Hanagriff saying thank you and good afternoon. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny.
WCK Foundation Repair.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not